Hey, everybody, welcome to the 8th episode of the Irrelevant Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about two different albums, one that Jason recommended to me and another one that I recommended to him. Which one do you want to talk about first?
You can start with you first.
With Mastodon?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So, the one that Jason had me listen to was Crack the Skye by Mastodon. I really like this album, dude. I loved the energy of it. I really loved the drums.
Yeah, their drummer's nasty.
Yeah, there was some good. I love their solos too. Oh, in the song "The Czar," that had a tough solo. Also, I loved how much levity there was, mixed with heavy moments.
Yeah, they really play off of the psychedelic melodic stuff very well. And that's kind of why I wanted you to play you that album, because I mean, for most of their fan base, they consider that to be their opus.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why I picked it was because they have still some of like the heavier elements that they did, but most likely, well, not most likely, with a lot of metal bands, they just get progressively more melodic as time goes on. That's just how it goes, especially as they get older.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that type of stuff, especially vocally. So, you have to change your music to account for that. But that's kind of their main I would say that's their biggest melodic turning point. After that album, they started to get more and more melodic and more moody and more psychedelic.
Yeah, dude, because I love melodic metal.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite genres of music. I've talked about Tool a lot on this podcast. I love them. Also, Gojira. Well, specifically the newer Gojira, like the Magma. And so I know we were talking about at the store. I haven't listened to their old stuff.
I don't think you'll like their first album. Their second album, you might find some of the guitar stuff is kind of cool, but the coolest thing the lead singer does on the earlier albums, that he plays with a lot of weird effects on his voice. He does scream through the majority of it, but he also has moments where he just does weird vocal things that you wouldn't expect him to do, which is kind of what separated them from the rest of the death metal bands. But like I said, with them, same thing with Mastodon. They just got more melodic over time, but they still have really hard-hitting elements of that in their heavier music. But off of that Crack the Skye record, which one was your favorite song?
The Czar. That might have been my favorite one.
I love
that song. Was so good. I loved like how it just it just got me going. Like, music where it just gets you going, and just like it feels like it's just igniting something like in your soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very inspirational genre. That's the thing I'm saying. Them and two of the ones that got me into writing more of the melodic stuff that I do now, or also just inspires me to be a better technical player, because more so with Mastodon, their shit is difficult to play. A lot of the stuff they do is hard. But that one riff in the Czar, that it does like the very melodic break, and then it goes back into that heavy riff again before the solo.
Yeah, it does the break, and it's more of like kind of just like a soft rock kind of.
Yeah, it's one of my
with the drum beat going kind of slow, and the
That's always a really fun riff to play.
Was excellent.
That was my favorite song for a long time. I love that first little melodic lead part that they do at the intro of the song.
Yes, that was very good.
That kind of what sucks me into that genre, like nice delay, very trippy sort of atmosphere. It's something that's very interesting. Your ear immediately catches onto it. It's not a difficult listen at all. You're just curious to see where the song goes next. Like stuff like that always grabs me.
Right, yeah, same. I think I'm not saying the album got better as it went along, because I think all the songs are fantastic, but I liked the second half of the album better. Like from the Czar and on, I was sold. I mean, I was already liking it in the beginning, but once the Czar hit it, I was like, all right, yeah, I love this album. This is excellent.
Yeah, it's a really, I mean, like I said, it's what the fan base considers as their opus album. But what song was your least favorite?
I mean, I know I literally just listened to it, and it's a lot to take in. But
it's hard to do all of this in one take, especially since it's fresh in our head too. And that's kind of when I'm gonna do the album that you recommended to me. That's when I'm more what I'm gonna talk about. But yeah, what was your least favorite?
I honestly, man, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I just want to go back and listen to it again, man. It was spicy. I think that's a good way to describe it. It's just it's the sauce, you know what I'm saying?
The other thing that kind of is like Tool that they are is there's a lot of stuff that you miss on the first listen. There's so much going on, a lot of dynamics, and the way that they mix all the stuff, it's a little bit muddy in the mix, so it's a little bit hard to appreciate some of the more intricate stuff that they do because it's kind of in the background. So sometimes they're one of those bands you have to listen to with headphones to really get the best appreciation.
Okay.
Were you listening with headphones?
Yes, I was listening to the majority of the album with the headphones. Initially, I had it on just playing from my phone while I was cleaning my room, but then eventually I had to go outside my room, and I was like, yeah, you know what, let's put on the headphones for convenience. So, yeah, and it was a good choice because I was, it was oddly relaxing too, is another thing I liked about it.
Yeah, they're very trancy, even like in their harder moments, like it. Because I watch a lot of not too much anymore, but I used to watch a lot of reaction videos on YouTube and a lot of mainly just breakdowns of like people that are I know, but the ones that I liked the most were the ones where people were not reacting, they were doing a breakdown, like it was actual like musicians and vocal people that were doing the reactions, not just like random dipshits with a camera.
Right.
They were doing like actual like musical breakdowns of the artists, and there's one YouTuber that was a singer, and I think it was about Gojira or one of those types of bands. They're saying the one cool thing about these types of bands that's different from the rest of the genre is a lot of metal is just super abrasive, and a lot of people find that relaxing, but for the people that are not used to that genre, there's only a few bands that can have that effect of like you feel relaxed and stress relieved when you listen to them, when you're just because like the screaming vocals really just cut through the fucking mix, and that's like really hard to take away your focus from. So if you don't like that kind of style, then that's really what your brain lashes to. But if you have like cool instrumentation in the background of it, or the vocals are mixed and they're very layered, and then also like they just have trippy riffs along with it, it kind of just it's a different atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, like
it doesn't take away
about, like with how some people need like good instrumentation and like a melodic background to enjoy metal music. I guess you could put me into that category because that's kind of where death metal doesn't really do it for me, because it almost just like doesn't have a soul, if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't have that like that thing that just makes me go, oh, it's so good. Like it makes me want to go out into the world and do things, because like Tool, like when I listen to Tool, I'm so like just pumped, or like I'm so sad, or I'm happy, or I'm just like angry, like they just make me feel like I want to go out and do things. But like death metal just doesn't, I don't know, like it just doesn't really make me feel much.
I think so. The way I always look at it, because I don't really like the genre for like a song structure reason, because a lot of it is very loose and it's a little bit more avant-garde. I like it more for like if you get more into playing metal as a guitarist, you really have more appreciation for that sort of aspect. Because with death metal, I don't think of like hooks or lyrics or the screamer. I always think about, oh, this is a really fucking cool riff that I want to learn. So it's a very guitar player heavy genre. So if you don't like that sort of abrasiveness all the time, and you only can appreciate, like I said, the instrumentation or anything else, that's really the only thing you can grasp on. But for me, I don't listen to it because it, relaxes me or makes me feel pumped. I love the guitar riffs for just straight death metal. Because a lot of,
believe that,
yeah, to me, a lot of extreme metal like deathcore and all that kind of shit, it gets old. Like people doing blast beats on drums, just Cookie Monster screaming and fast riffs. Like it gets boring for me really quickly. But that's why there's only a few death metal bands that I actually really love, and a lot of them do super intricate shit on the guitar and the bass and the drums. So that's really the only way.
What are those bands those death metal bands that you do like?
One death metal band that I love, it's called tech death. It's like technical death metal, which is like the most like even more than prog. It's the most insane genre in terms of musicality. It's super fucking fast. It's highly technical in terms of ability. There's one band called Beyond Creation. There's another band called Archspire. But in terms of like more like the evil sound, like we were talking about before, Behemoth, they kind of mix black metal and death metal a little bit, but a lot of their stuff to me,
what's
like
the difference?
Black metal it's like the stereotypical like church burning, face painting kind of like just evil sounding metal, but the
Okay.
whole joke of the genre is that it's very bad. It's just production's awful, the sound is just bad in
Oh
general.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is Ghost? Is that black metal?
No, Ghost is more pop. There's no screaming in Ghost. It's all just like
Okay.
hard rock riffs, and some of it's kind of creepy and slow. But majority, it's like stadium rock, and especially with more of the albums that they do, they just
So
dress like it, but they're not
okay.
like that.
Do you like Ghost?
I did. I don't really. I kind of fell off from them because the lead singer is kind of a control freak, and a lot of good musicians from the old albums they basically quit, and he had a bunch of lawsuits with them. So he just is becoming the Axl Rose of that genre, just a very kind of diva like, and he kind of lost my
Right.
respect on this last album that they did because they're just ghostwriters that they have produced. So it seems like they're just really trying to chase commercial success than really have integrity with the music. Regardless if it sounds good or bad, that's subjective, but it just didn't feel like it was coming from an honest place, and that's why I kind of fell off of them. But I love them. I've seen them maybe 3 or 4 times. I've seen them the most amount of times that I've seen any other band, which is pretty funny.
Right. Okay. But yeah, dude, I really did enjoy this album. This
Good.
was, I mean, dude, I guess you know my tastes really well. Like you
I'm
were
glad,
like,
man.
well, you're gonna like this album, and I was like, all right, I'll take a listen, and yeah, I did. I mean, I want to go listen to this in the gym on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I could just put this on like just the whole time. It'd be great.
it did it's inspiration. It pumps you up, especially the Divinations, the song with the banjo intro, like that thing, like the fast pace of the song. It really just it keeps out the same throughout the whole way. It's what I like. It's a really good gym song.
Yeah. Also, the last song.
The Last Baron.
Yeah, that was getting me going.
I didn't know if you were gonna like that one because that one has a lot of stuff going on, and the structure is a little bit weird, and it's a very long song. I didn't know if you're gonna like that or not.
Well, I mean, it being long doesn't bother me at all because I enjoy listening to long songs.
Well, it's not the fact that it's long; it's just the fact of like the way that they structure it is a little bit strange. So I didn't know if like you were gonna like that all the way through.
I didn't know. I didn't necessarily notice that on my first listen because yeah, keep in mind I did like just listen to this, so I'm gonna go back and listen to it and see if I noticed that on the second time.
Well, if you like it on the first listen, that's pretty much game changer. Like it's some like I honestly thought like it was going to take you like 2 or 3 listens to really like it, but the fact that you like it on the first album or on the first listen is not bad. But
Oh,
yeah,
Last Baron or just the whole album?
the whole album in general.
Oh yeah, I love this.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, they've been a huge inspiration to me since I was in high school. And like I said, they do a
Really?
bunch of different types of genres or cover a bunch of different types of genres through all the albums that they make. And like I said, most metal bands, their newest stuff is a little bit more not tamer, but it's just a completely different direction. I still feel like this is their best album. I don't know. It's just the one. I don't know if it's the best album to me because it's the one I got introduced to them with, but it's just I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to make one like it again.
Yeah.
But but I think yeah. Anything else?
No, I mean, I would say anyone who's listening to this who hasn't listened to this album, I think it's great. Especially if you like bands like Tool, Gojira, anything like that. You're gonna like this.
It's kind of a mixture. Like they take the aggressiveness of that sort of metal and then they kind of blend it with some of the trippy melodic stuff, and they do it in a very like how should I put it? They make it very palatable. They take very weird ideas and concepts and sounds, and they make it.
Oh yeah,
so a lot of people can listen.
This is very palatable.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like many people would think this is overbearing or anything like that. Yeah, and just I love it when metal music just it gets inspirational and it just makes it just I don't know how to say it. Oh, like it has gravitas and it just makes you want to just like finish that lap or like finish that rep or just get it done. I love music like that.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is like they like I don't know if you really got a chance to listen to the lyrics because some of it is a little like I said it's a concept album, but like you kind of have to listen or not listen. You have to kind of pay attention to it throughout the whole way to really kind of get a grasp of the story, even though it's hard to tell a story in lyrics like that, especially when they're repeating and there's very few of them.
Yeah, I don't really remember anything about the lyrics, honestly.
Yeah.
I do need to listen to this again.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like them with me, I love their album art. Their album art is awesome. I love the themes. It makes me always just, tap into the wonderments of the world or always makes you think of
Yeah,
ancient past.
that's why I love Tool's covers.
Yeah, those ones are more like kind of drugged out psychedelic. These ones are more like, mystical fairy tale. Not really fairy tale, but more of like um I guess folk tale, I should say. There's a lot of
I see what
folk
you're saying.
element and also like I said in some of their EPs that they've done, like they have a very whimsical folksy kind of sound.
Okay, okay.
So that's the thing that I love about them the most is like it makes me think about other types of art or like other, mythological creatures or just shit that happened in the
Yeah,
past.
because that's a thing that people don't really take into account when they listen to music. Is like, it's like, what does this make you think of in terms of real world things?
Yeah.
Because when I listen to Tool, like it makes you think of like exotic, like Eastern places. Well, I mean, exotic to us, but you know, um, and stuff like that, and just like yeah, and like our place in the world, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, because I obviously I have no experience with that because I don't, I haven't dabbled in those kind of the, you know.
You're being very vague for a reason.
Yeah, I'm also my parents' house.
No, I'm fucking with you. Yeah, I mean, but that also doesn't have to be the point. Like, you don't have to get a specific, boxed in criteria version of enjoyment from music. It's your own spiritual, personal journey. You can do whatever you want.
Yes, that's another reason why I love music like this and Tool is because I feel like I'm just in my own world that only I can understand. You know, like I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm in this, like I've been transported to space and like I'm just in this own like little bubble that only I can know. You know.
Yeah, and the one thing that playing off of what you just said, I don't have to really get that also from because like when I was younger, I mean, I listen to the main shit that I listen to now, but I feel like now I have a lot wider range of genres that I like to listen
Oh,
to. So
same.
there's elements of stuff in other genres, even in genres I don't like, where I kind of hear that and still get that same feeling, even if it's like a fleeting moment or a piece in a song. So I always love the beauty of music in that way as well. So like
Right.
I can branch out of my comfort zone and still get that same feeling as opposed to the stuff that I always do all the time. So that's the one thing I
Yes, and
love.
that's why I'm really thankful that you showed me this because I wouldn't have ever thought to listen to this. I mean, I had maybe heard of Mastodon like a few times, but it's hard, because when you get in those traps of just listening to the same music over and over again, which they're still good, it's still good music, but
Yeah.
you can't just be listening to the same thing over and over again.
I'm a firm
That's
believer in,
yeah.
in sorry to cut you off, but I'm a firm
I
believer
was
in
just gonna sorry.
yeah, go ahead, sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna
Sorry.
say that
Sorry.
that's
Sorry.
all I was gonna say is that that's the textbook definition of insanity.
Yeah. Doing something the same and expecting different results. Har
You were
har
saying?
har. Facebook memes. Anyway, so I'm a firm believer in context with anything in life. And
Okay.
I think sometimes when it comes to complex music or weirder music, you have to have somebody show you the right context. So it's like if you just type up them and just listen to a couple of their songs on YouTube, just kind of out of place, it's just going to be like, okay, I can kind of see where they're going for, or I don't really gravitate this towards at all. So you kind of need somebody that, knows them and been listening, or you need somebody that has been listening to somebody else for a long period of time to really, introduce you the right way. So that's why, starting with this album was probably the best way to go because I think it's their best work. So if you
Really?
think another album might be better than that, it's still a good introduction. So now I was like, okay, I'm curious to check out the other stuff. And to see, because sometimes it's disappointing to listen to a band's best album first, because then the other stuff doesn't compare to it.
Yeah, that's why because when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, what's Tool's best?" Like, I want to listen to Tool's best album, and when like they haven't listened to Tool before. I mean, obviously, I want them to listen to Lateralis, but like, I'm not saying that it just goes so downhill from there. But I think Lateralis it is their best one.
I think
And
it's the one that gave them the most success, I believe, like mainstream.
really,
Because Anima
okay,
was a cult classic, but I don't remember if they really got big radio play or big commercial success from that album. Like I said, because this is way before my time, which is also
wow,
cool to listen to music that is kind of fleeting and we're not. I mean, obviously all these bands currently tour, but they're not in their prime. They're way past their prime.
No, and it's very, yeah, it is. That is something to take into account.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I don't know. I just like exploring music in the right context.
Yes, exactly, and that's why I think it is very important to listen to a wide variety of music because that's something that not everyone can do. You know,
Yeah.
because I can go listening to this and then I can go instantly to like Mozart or something like that.
Yeah, which I still am a firm believer that a lot of people that say they listen to classical don't actually like listen to it like that.
We were talking about that. Well, no, I mean, I guess that I'm in the exception because I fucking love classical music, man. And like, there's also like, there's a lot of different eras which a lot of people don't think about. People just think about music that was composed before the 1900s with an orchestra as just quote unquote classical, and that's not really how it is. Classical is more like Bach and stuff like that. He's kind of like the grandfather of Western music.
Right.
And obviously, you know, there's like the romantics, like Debussy.
Do you listen to
Stravinsky.
Wagner
Wagner he's
or
pretty
Wagner?
good.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I don't listen to him as much as other composers. I like the Baroque composers the best.
Because
Like,
he has a lot of dark sounding stuff, I think, right?
Who, Wagner? Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you're into film music.
Like my dad is. My dad like he just has a running playlist of fucking movie soundtracks. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, no, I like the movie soundtracks. John Williams, a lot of you know who he is, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff was inspired by Wagner, Stravinsky, and those kind of guys, because those guys created the idea of well, not melodies, but more so motifs and recurring ideas. You know, because like in Wagner's operas, he would have a theme, you know, for a character and stuff like that, and he kind of popularized that idea, and that's, you know, because John Williams is the same thing. He has a theme for Darth Vader, there's a theme for the Force, and a theme for all this stuff, you know, and these recurring ideas that build off of one another. Well,
it's supposed to, because that if that falls flat, it really fucks up the energy of the movie. Like they're making a specific emotion and sound for that scene, so if it misses its mark, like it just completely fucks it up. But I don't know. What's interesting is like I know all those guys. I've seen all the movies. I like the soundtracks. I think a lot of them have really beautiful melodies, and I think they fit the mood of whatever scene that they're in perfectly. But I never find myself like sitting down and listening to it. It's one of those things where I appreciate it and I think it sounds good, but it just doesn't move me in any way. I don't know, because like very few, even though I play instruments and when I listen to a lot of music, I focus on the instrumentation in the background. But for some reason, a lot of instrumental music, it has to be like super interesting for me to really just make me feel something.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, which is crazy because there's a lot of bands where I wish that they were instrumental because I think the vocals ruin it, and then there's a lot of instrumental bands that I wish had vocals because I think it's kind of boring. It's very strange.
What bands do you think should be instrumental?
I think a lot of death metal bands should be instrumental because behind the screaming, sometimes there's ones that are super melodic and they have really good melodies and really heavy melodies, and the vocals really ruin the mood of the song because it clashes too much with the rest of the music. Because like I love extreme metal, I've been listening to it forever, but there's just some bands where it's just there's very few screaming vocalists that I really love. There's others I can tolerate, there's some I can't stand, there's some I just like, but there's very few that I get some feeling from them. So there's a lot I wish were just instrumental.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not saying that Slipknot should just be instrumental because I don't really like Slipknot that much.
I love his voice. I love his screams. I love his melodic stuff. And they also have a lot of different variety of music as well, like especially as their albums go on. And he also has the lead singer has another band called Stone Sour, which is more hard rock and more traditional, so you might like them a little bit more. The instrumentation, I think, is a little bit more boring, but his ability to create hooks and choruses that are super catchy is uncanny. Like it's crazy to me how like he has a very pop-centric vocal structure. And it's very, very earwormy.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, you have to listen to their newer albums. Their old stuff is just chaotic, and I like that stuff too.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because anytime I say like, "Oh, I didn't like this band," I always have to take into account how many albums I listened to and which ones they were.
They have a lot
For
of albums.
for Slipknot, I think I only listened to like the first two or three. I was like,
No, that's what I'm saying. You have to listen to the
yeah,
newer stuff.
okay, I'll be willing to try them again.
Yeah,
I'll be willing to try literally anything, dude. Like I'm a
yeah.
very, I mean, I hate to just sound pretentious, but like I'm a very open person when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not like, oh, I'm not listening to that. Like I'll listen to it if you
Well,
want me
no,
to.
if you don't like it, you don't like it. What I'm saying is like with Slipknot, they're not like those first 2 or 3 albums that they have. They're not like that anymore.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I didn't really after those few albums I listened to, I didn't want to listen to more. But
Right.
if we want to do that for like a future podcast, I'll do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need to listen to music in the right context. So if I told you
Right,
one Slipknot album to listen to, you'd probably enjoy them than if you just listen to their first album first, because that's like their most raw, intense album. Like he's like a fucking he's like a alcoholic drug addict, and he was just losing his mind on that album. Like it was just a very dark time, and it reflected the music. But like I said, that's what I mean when I say music in context. You just have to start with the right albums, and then, like I said, when you listen to this genre more, you might have more appreciation for that harder stuff. It might kind of pique your interest, because that's kind of how it happened with me. I didn't like harsh vocals at all when I was younger, but then there's a couple bands that kind of slipped it in, and then it kind of evolved into what it is now.
Gojira is one of the only bands with like harsh
Yeah.
vocals that I still enjoy. I like how what's his name? Who's the singer?
Joe.
Duplanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like his voice when he does that. It's very nice.
It's because he's a very unique screamer. He, especially on the later albums, he mixes a lot. He does a lot of harmony under his screaming. Like he'll straight up sing the notes underneath of the screaming tracks in the studio. And live, he kind of has to change the voice to where he does more of a pitch scream more than the growl, because there's so many layers of harmony and melody in their music underneath of not even just the vocals, just with everything, with the guitars and the bass. There's so much melody in their music. And I think that's why a lot of people that aren't into extreme metal get into them, because they take a very extreme thing, they make it palatable, but they also do it in a unique way. And the vocals usually don't clash with the rest of the sound. Like it's not a very abrasive, harsh sound, even though it's an aggressive tone.
Yeah, especially on Magma.
Yeah, exactly. He was screaming on a lot on that album, but even though he was singing, because like the rest of the music was a little bit tamer, but like he was screaming a lot on that album.
Yeah, Magma is very good. I do need to listen to. Is it L'Enfant Sauvage?
L'Enfant Sauvage, something like that.
L'Enfant Sauvage.
It means like a feral child or wild child or something like that.
Well, Sauvage means like savage.
Yeah. An infant.
L'Enfant. Yeah, I know.
But going to the album that you recommended to me, which is...
yes, what did you think? Oh, so guys, this is called Argentina, Guitarra of the Pampas. Las Pampas is the northern region of Argentina, where Buenos Aires is located in. This is just like kind of Argentine folk music with the guitar. So what did you think, dude?
Well, first, I'm glad you gave the introduction, because I was going to look into his past a little bit to kind of see, so I can give myself some proper context. But the one thing that I was going to make a point with later, but I would just like to, I guess, address now is, what year was this made?
Let's
Do you know?
see. 97.
This was recorded in 97?
Yes, I don't know if the songs might have been, well, I would guess were probably written before that, but it was recorded in 97, it says.
So he physically recorded these songs in 97?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes me have a different opinion then. First off, there's a lot of fucking... I'm not gonna lie, this was a little bit of a difficult listen, because the songs were short and they're all instrumental. And there's a lot of stuff in a 45-minute time span, so it's hard for me to get to everything in here. But I do like it. I have a bunch of notes to organize my thoughts, because there's a lot of stuff going on with this one.
Okay. Yeah.
So the songs that stood out to me the most were and I'm gonna butcher all these fucking pronunciations.
That doesn't matter.
Esencia was one. El,
Yes. Oh, we'll
yeah,
get to that in a second. Yeah.
the opening track, that one is probably the strongest. And then El
Oh yes,
Codiciado was another
that's a good
one.
one. Yeah.
Trinos y Alas was another one. El Tostao,
Mhm.
Fortin Gakel,
Yes,
Lejania.
I do like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Lejania. So that's the ones that stuck out to me the most. So starting off with like I said, the reason why this was a little bit of a difficult listen is because I think since I don't listen to like classical Spanish music all the time like this, the the structure of it was kind of interesting because I had to really focus and listen to all the I was trying to catch all the subtleties in one take, so it's like I was
Mm.
really putting a bunch of attention to it. And I think the one thing that I don't like about, I don't know if this is subjective to him or just this genre in general, is the change of tempo and sometimes key, which is crazy because I love that in metal where it just changes time signatures or tempos. But this
Okay.
one, I feel like sometimes it takes away
Yeah.
from the main melody of the song to just go into like a little, shreddy lead part, which
Okay.
is on top of like a cool melody. So sometimes the stopping and starting kind of got to me. But the first one, Ausencia, I love that little high note percussive thing that he did.
Ah, yes. I
Yeah,
love, especially there's like the intro, and then he goes into the main part of the song, which is
yeah,
it catches you off guard, and just like the way it the main I don't know riff, but like the
yeah,
main like just I like God I don't know how to speak. Just like that app, like the main part of the song, that melody just I feel like I'm just it's so relaxing. It just feels like just raindrops are just like coming down, and
yeah.
oh,
And
it's so nice.
it makes me, so when I listen to it, it makes me feel like I was in some medieval, field about to walk to the castle. Like
Yes,
it
it's a
gave
good
me
way. Yeah,
it gave me a
that's a good way to describe it.
very, yeah, it gave me a very, very cool feel. The one song on this, like, I made the note for the one I didn't like the most, I would say, I think is the one that I like the least. Or, yeah, the one that I like, God damn, I'm fucking jumbled so much shit. The one that I like the least on this album was the El Codiciado. And the only reason why I didn't like it was because I don't know if it's just the style, but like it just sounded very, like it was very messy and it didn't sound like there was any structure to the song. Like it just was like him riffing for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, I think that song was the least moody, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I couldn't really feel anything from it, but also like a lot of it sounded off time, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of, especially for like there's no quantizing, there's no pitch correction. It's just a dude in front of a microphone is what it sounded like, and him just recording himself playing. So I like a lot of that raw stuff too. But for this specific track, I don't know, it just sounded very sloppy.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
didn't really, but the one thing I actually liked is I have to do this track by track because I'm trying to remember all the parts in the songs.
I should have done that. I didn't really take as much notes for
Well, this one, I
the
mean, that one was a little bit more easy because like there's a lot of stuff that grabs you, and there's a
right
lot like, and there's vocals, so like you
in a
can
more
remember.
overt way.
There's also not that many tracks on that album too. There's maybe what, like 6 tracks on Crack the
Yeah,
Sky.
there's seven.
There's like fucking how many tracks in this album? They're all instrumental. So
Let me see.
I
There's 18.
yeah, exactly. I had to take fucking notes on this one, otherwise I had no
Okay.
idea. But
Yeah.
this is the one when I was listening to it, I really liked because it reminds me of those parts in movies that were silent, and it's like I remember I'm laughing at this now, but when I was listening to it, I made the note that it sounds like that dramatic part in movies where like a ballerina is dancing really quickly and there's something like stressful going on in the background, then like the kind of when the crescendo comes and it just falls, like I just pictured the ballerina falling, this kind of scenes in
Hmm.
movies.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I got that one. Um,
Which track was that in? You said.
there was a Trinos y Alas.
Yes, I know. Alas means wings. I don't know what trinos means.
I mean, I could kind of get, it's very, flighty, a little bit airy, I kind of get that. And
Okay,
that's the thing.
wings.
So, and that's the other thing too. Like if I know what some of these mean in English, it also, because I think for instrumental music, the title of the song is really fucking important.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I never
Be-
really thought about that.
Well, because since there's no lyrics or vocals or anything to really, you only have the mood of the song to, you have to make up your own context, and you have to see what does this remind me of when I listen to this, or what do I hear in this. So I feel like if an instrumental song has a really cool title, it really can like accentuate the music, especially if you can kind of get the same feeling, or like, oh, it really does sound like the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Kind of like how the title of a movie really matters, you know?
Exactly. It's all part of the art, and it's more important in
Yeah.
instrumental music because that's the only thing you can play off of is the cover art and the titles to really just
Yeah,
set
the
the
cover
atmosphere.
art. I think the cover is cool.
It's
I
cool, man.
love. It
It's a
almost looks like a video game cover. It's
yeah,
kind of interesting.
it's very Red Dead. It's
Oh,
a badass cowboy on a fucking
yeah, there's
horse.
that cowboy with that red poncho, and you just see the shadow over his eyes. So it's just so mysterious, you know.
Yeah.
Riding on I believe it's a mule. Oh,
Yeah,
in
yeah, horse meal. I don't know. It probably was a
yeah,
meal.
just those Argentine just those Argentine fields,
Yeah.
man. And also, like you were saying, we were talking about the titles. Do you know what the number one? I'm sorry, you know what the first track means?
Essentia?
Ausencia means absence.
Okay. I got the complete
Yeah,
opposite by listening to that song. That didn't sound like a very, it wasn't that sad to me.
it's very interesting because like it's classical in a way. It's very much like a Spanish classical guitar. It's not really flamenco, but it's very much like
No.
it's classical. Kind of
Flamenco
like
is super percussive and a lot quicker.
yeah, and it's more like dance, and it's more like
Yeah.
it's the gypsy style. But I don't know. Have you ever heard of Tarrega?
No, I haven't.
He is kind of like the guy everyone touts as like he's like the greatest classical Spanish guitarist of all time.
Okay.
He plays a lot of this kind of style music where it's not flamenco, but it's like this. It's not. Well, that's the thing about classical music is because it doesn't play on your emotions in the same way as contemporary music does.
Yeah.
You know, because it makes you it honestly it activates your intellect a little bit more, and it forces you to think.
It's
In a
very
way that,
cerebral.
yes, that's a good way to describe it, and that's part of the reason why I love it. And I also forgot to mention the guy's name is Roberto Lara. Um,
Yeah.
I need to listen to his other stuff because
Yeah. So
yeah.
another track that I thought was cool was the El Tostao. Which
Tostao,
what
yeah.
is that? I'm gonna ask you what all these mean. So what does El Tostao mean?
Tostão. I was looking at that. It looks like it's a Portuguese word
Okay.
based on how it's spelled. Let me see. Gotta whip out the Google Translate, baby.
Damn, I'd never figure you a translator
No,
from
it
Google.
literally means the toast.
The toast.
The toast.
Okay, I get nothing from that one because I remember this is the one I remember vividly. This one reminds me more of the classical scale shredding that a lot of metal guys do, because it sounded like an exercise. It was very scale like, which was kind of cool.
El tostado. Yeah.
And then the one I so this is the next track is the one that's going to be my overall point for the whole entire thing is Fortin Cacao, which what does
I
that mean?
really like that one. That's like one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah, that was a really good track. But
Yeah.
I think the second half of the song doesn't work, which is kind of my whole point where it's like I love the feel of that song, but then it just kind of died down when he changed the feel
I
of the song.
honestly, it should have been two separate songs.
Yeah, it should have been two separate songs. So that was kind of my whole thing. It was like there's a lot of stuff on this album where like I love all the individual melodies and pieces, and then sometimes he loses me with where he goes because I'm so like I'm not like listening to it. Like this is something I would listen to in the background when I'm doing something or if I'm trying to relax. But like when
Yeah.
I'm really
Okay.
putting focus into listening, because like I have to, especially playing guitar too. So like I'm really like paying attention to what he's doing. I think sometimes that's why it's just like I don't like some of the structure of the songs because I'm really paying attention to it. I think my favorite track off this album though is probably Lahanya.
I don't remember that one as much as I should.
That one. So the reason why I like this one because first of all I think the melody is really beautiful. I like I like the notes that he chooses first off, but another main problem that I had with this was the tone. Like I think there's very few classical guitar sounds that I like because a lot of times it kind of sounds like rubber bands. It's hard to get some of the dynamics and harmonic overtones of the notes because there's not as much tension as a steel string guitar, so you hear a lot more nuance in the actual strings themselves than on the classical guitars. But on this track I felt like it was the like nicest sounding. So there's a lot of stuff that he did with the bends and the slides that I could hear extra than I could with like the rest of the song. Just sound like I could hear him playing a guitar in the microphone. But on this track, I got lost and I actually, forgot that he was actually playing, and it sounded really cool.
Oh
So, and I
man,
also
that's
liked the
cool.
melody
Yeah.
of the track too. But that was the last one that really kind of stuck out to me. Um, the rest of them it was kind of the same sort of points. But I think, like I said, yeah, Asencia, and Lahania were probably my favorites off of the track. Um, and the other thing too with this kind of music, I think I would also love it a lot more if I was playing it. Like if I was learning to play it and I played some of this myself as opposed to sitting down and
Okay.
listening to it, I think I would enjoy it a lot more. I think I would love to play it. Like it makes me want to pick up a classical and play.
Yeah. That's another thing, because like good music, like honestly, it makes me want to go like, oh, I want to play that, you know?
Yeah, and it inspires me, and I think that's the whole point. So it's like that's a cool thing where like I can listen to a full album and not like some of the aspects of the album, but also it really inspires me to pick up and learn that style because it's also don't forget like I'm not familiar to this genre. I don't really listen to
Right.
it at all. So going into it fresh, and like I said, this is one of those ones where it's going to take me having a couple listens to really appreciate all the aspects of it. But I heard that a lot in that Lahanya track because um,
I need to go back and listen to that one now.
well, that's why I asked you like what year was this made because I when I listened to it I assumed it was a lot older. I thought this would be like from
Yeah,
like
it
the
sounds like it's from
50s
the
or
60s, yeah, 50s,
yeah.
honestly.
So that's why I was like I didn't really want to judge it off of that time because it's a lot of years later, but the fact that this was recorded in the 90s, I don't know, it kind of makes me like there could have been a lot of better choices for like
Oh,
tones and
actually,
stuff.
I'm looking at the I googled Roberto Lara. He died in '88 and he was born in '27, so it was
Oh.
probably made a lot earlier.
Okay, so all right, so he's not even alive in that time.
Yeah, so this was probably just like it was
Okay.
a posthumous thing.
Okay, so
I
that's
mean, I'm
okay.
sure the things were made before that, but
Okay, so that's what I was saying. So the fact that this was recorded a lot earlier, like I kind of give it a pass on that because there wasn't really that much you can do besides just play in front of a fucking microphone, you know. Um,
yeah. Do you think that the order of the tracks was very good?
in terms of like the flow of the whole album.
Yeah, that's one of my complaints about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't really feel like the structure was fluid even in the
Yeah.
songs. So it's like even
Oh,
like to
okay.
listen to like a whole album, like I don't think like it doesn't sound like an album. It just sounds like a collection of like melodies that he put together. You know what I mean? Like they're not like
Okay.
but I don't think it's supposed to be like it's not supposed to be a traditional song structure. It's supposed to just sit there and listen to a really nice classical melody. It's not supposed to be like
Yeah.
intro, verse, chorus, bridge, break, you know what I mean? It's not supposed to be that. So
Yeah,
I
that's why
would
like a lot of people I think would describe this album as non-professional, and it's because I mean, and I'm like
yeah.
I don't mind that because I like to embrace the folkness of it.
Yeah.
It just
Also,
sounds like
yeah.
something you just hear in like the streets of Argentina or something like that. You know?
Yeah, it's something you'll be playing in a cafe. I don't I don't know how
Yes.
popular it was. Like did he actually play out and people come like travel to see him or was he just more of a local staple in
Um,
Argentina?
I want to say he did go out, but I can't because I don't know that much about him. So
Okay. Um yeah, and like I said that was my one thing is I think that because there's another when I was thinking about it, I was thinking of another artist. You know who Robert Johnson was?
no.
He was a blues artist that was from Mississippi, and he was actually this is a long fucking segue, but it makes me think of this guy because it's very similar.
Oh
So
wait,
he
hold off on that. I need to use the bathroom. Is that all right? And you can tell
yeah
me about Robert Johnson when I come back. All right, cool.
right. So Robert Johnson was a blues artist in the like late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around that era, and he was basically revered as the pioneer of like the Delta blues. So slide guitar, very wailing, soulful vocals, and he basically started the traditional like like that kind of style of blues.
Okay.
And a lot of metal guys and rock guys like Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, Tommy Iommi from Black Sabbath, Keith Richards from the Stones. A lot of those guys took inspiration from Robert Johnson, And the crazy thing about him is there's a documentary on Netflix about this called Devil at the Crossroads. He was the first guy that was attributed to the selling your soul to the devil to play music, but that rumor started from basically, a lot of times the churches were losing attendance because people were going and listening to blues music. So the church was losing money, so that's where kind of attributed, oh, that devil's music was originally blues.
It wasn't just like rock.
No, that started from blues.
Is blues kind of like a branch of rock, or not really?
Yeah, so the whole legend about him, and he was very young when he died. He was a mediocre guitar player, and then he had a mentor that basically showed him how to play guitar in a graveyard, and he disappeared for about a year and came back, and he was a fucking monster on the guitar. He wrote really good songs. He was a good singer. He played really interesting blues riffs, and it was rumored that he sold his soul to the devil at what they called the Crossroads, which is basically like a intersection dirt road kind of thing, but it's a metaphor for being at a crossroads in your life, right? So that was his legend, but it most likely stemmed from because everybody was not going to church; they were going to listen to blues. So that's where you're selling the soul to play music was from him. But what I was going to say was that music, he recorded, I don't know, maybe 28 songs before he died, and a lot of it is really badly recorded because it was in the fucking 20s and 30s. But when I listen to it, there's some aspects where I really hear the dynamics of his guitar playing or his vocals, even though the audio quality is not that good. So that's what I was saying in context to Roberto Lara, was how all this was recorded, because even like back then, even if the audio quality was bad or good, I could still hear some of the nuance in it. So that's why with classical guitar, sometimes it's hard for me to appreciate some of the melodies because I don't feel like it has too much dynamic with the notes. And that's only with one guy. I haven't listened to many others, so I'm sure, especially modern people that play, because they can do any sort of effect on it, or they have a really insanely expensive guitar with the perfect wood choice and all that stuff that just sounds beautiful. And they have different types of strings. The technology is there to get a really cool sound out of any instrument, really. So I kind of have to give it in context. No, that's all I was going to say, was that I'm not a fan of the classical guitar tone, because I don't think there's enough tension on the strings to really make it sound cool with with the harmonics and stuff.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no.
Because I think the harmonies, especially on Ausencia, they're just gorgeous. Because when certain music, and not just music, but just when any sort of art just makes you just mwah, so good,
Yeah.
It makes you excited. Like this album, I mean, I do have some complaints, which we talked about. But I mean, obviously, it's more positive for me overall, and a lot of the songs they just do that for me. You mentioned how it is more of just background music. I can see where you're coming from. I don't know if this album, because I listen to this mostly when I'm working in the warehouse.
I would consider that background music if you're doing something while you're listening to it and it relaxes you and you don't have to pay attention. You know what I mean? Like I would say it wouldn't be background music if you were falling asleep at night, or you lay in your bed and you just listen to it. It makes you mind chill off into other things. That's more of what I mean.
But you're saying that it would truly good music, it's not reliant on your mood. It just kind of speaks for itself in any context, I guess.
Well, I think if it's not your favorite thing to listen to genre-wise or artist-wise, you have to be in the specific mood to listen to it. Because there's bands where there's some metal bands that I like where it doesn't matter what mood I'm in, pissed off, happy, angry, sad, lustful, I can enjoy them. And there's other bands where I really love, but I have to be in the right mood to listen to them. And a lot of the psychedelic music is like that. There's a lot of music if I listen to it in the daytime, it just loses that effect to me. But I've listened to it at night, on a long drive home, it just really fucking opens up my consciousness on that level. And then I wake up the next morning, then that feeling's kind of gone, and there's other stuff that I want to listen to. So for me personally, there's a lot of emotive changes that I have to be prepared for to enjoy music sometimes.
Right.
But that's only with stuff that's not my favorite genre.
Right. And I think there is a time and place for all of these different genres, and for different times of the day and different things you're doing and stuff like that. And if you're working, or if you're not working, or something. I could still listen to a lot of these tracks just by listening to them, and I'd probably love them. Like I'll sense it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just want to go back and listen to that right now.
It's
I
a fun
love.
one to learn.
Yeah, I would honestly like to learn how to play that.
Yeah, like I said, that for one thing, I think the most positive aspect of this album for me was like it really wants me to pick up guitar and play the parts that I really liked in the song. Because there's a lot of times where it's like I was listening to it and I was like, huh, I wonder what he played there. I wonder how he did that. Especially like on that on Essentia, on the part where he does that little percussive like hammer on thing on the high notes.
Yeah, and then he has the bass line too.
Yeah, so like I don't know if like
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the whole thing is finger picked because it's a classical, I assume. But like just like the way that he played it is interesting to me. It's a very specific percussive tone that I liked, along
Right.
with the note choice as well, and also just the rhythm of it.
Okay.
So like I want to learn how to do that part that he played on that song. Also, just the whole song in general. I love the melody on that as well because I think it's the best opening track. Like it's a good representation of the music that he plays in that
Yeah,
song.
yeah, it is a very good opening track.
Yeah. So in terms of like album flow, I think that's probably the strongest was leading with that song.
Okay.
Yeah. But there wasn't that many slower stuff on this album that I was expecting.
The slowest song honestly might be Ausencia.
Yeah, and then which is crazy because I thought there was going to be a bunch of other slower stuff or a little bit more moodier stuff. That's what kind of was what I was looking forward to the most actually. I wonder if he has other stuff. I'm curious to check out the other stuff that he's done to see if he has more somber, simpler stuff to
I
really
am
just
too.
let the notes speak
Yeah.
for themselves as opposed to the just standard traditional melody or like a cool percussive part or a very intricate rhythm. Just letting the notes really do the talking.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, another thing this album does for me, like we were talking about, well, how more I was mentioning the fact how I love how music can make you think of things in the real world, and obviously, I think that every culture has that thing, that flex almost that just they're like, yeah, this is our cool thing that we have,
Yeah.
I love just within the Hispanosphere and like just the Spanish speaking world. There's so much great music that they have, and this just really emulates that classical Spanish, like you said, almost medieval style. It just really makes me think of that.
Side note: Hispanosphere would be a really good name for a band.
And they don't even like speak Spanish.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool, and that's what kind of a segue to the last podcast where we're like, fuck everybody that's so annoying about their culture. This is the one thing that you really should be proud of with your culture is music, because music takes talent to do, and especially traditional music, it takes very, very specific. How should I say this? It's a very specific way you have to play your instrument to play a specific culture's music. So I think that's the one thing that you should be proud to learn is your music. And also with making food as well. I feel like if people were good cooks and good musicians, that's really the only thing they should be proud of from their culture. But if they're just piggybacking off of other people's stuff, then that's kind of where I have an issue with it. But
Oh yeah,
like I
'cause
said,
I know we were shitting on people and we were taking like the George Carlin thing. We're like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you should be proud to be like. Well, no, I think it's being proud of like your ethnicity is different than being proud of like your culture.
well, you can be proud of both and still being annoying about it. What I'm saying is that
at
like
the same time, to my knowledge, I think ethnicity is different than race.
well, it
'Cause, like,
depends on where you're from. Like ethnicity and race can be
Right.
synonymous in like countries
I
in
think
Africa,
they are
but not
separated,
like countries
yeah.
in it just honestly just depends on where you're from. What I'm saying is like I
Yeah.
think I think the only way to really be proud of your culture is to do stuff like this, is to really just celebrate and honor the stuff that came before you, and then if you take it into a new direction or if you create a fusion, that's even more admirable. I think. Obviously, not everybody has to be like that, but if you're going to be so hell struck and on your culture and you don't do anything like this, it just makes it very hard for me to take you seriously.
Yeah, like when you don't actually want to
Yeah.
go through this like the same things and all these things, these steps that
Yeah.
all these other people went through. Like you just want to piggy like bandwagon. That's what's annoying about it.
Yeah, and the other thing too is the other thing when I listen to music like this, it always makes you wonder about the person because I guarantee you he would also be really fascinating to listen to him talk. Like I wonder if he does interviews. Like he probably has a very cool
Right, I
outlook on
do.
life.
Yeah, I do want to listen to. I mean, I'm sure it'd all be in Spanish. Well, I mean, I'd understand it, but
Yeah, I'd have to
um,
do some more digging, but just have the. It makes me feel like I want to have the opportunity to talk to some of these people because they just have a very original and very fresh way of life, and a lot of times it's like they say something that actually means something. It's not just useless opiatic nonsense.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, no, I like very cultural music like this. I think it's inspirational, even if like I said, it's not my genre, but a lot of the stuff, there's
It's
elements
mine.
of it that I think are really cool. And it makes me want
So
to listen more.
overall, oh, wait, what were you saying?
I just overall makes me listen. It makes me want to listen to it more.
So you liked it at the end of
I
the day?
did. I did like it.
Okay,
Like I said,
okay.
I liked it from a guitar perspective, and I liked it from a melody perspective. Like I said, my only complaint with it was the structure of the whole thing, the
Yeah,
structure of the songs, and some of the tones were kind of, like I said, because like a lot of classical guitars just sound like rubber bands to me.
yeah,
But that's just a stylistic thing. Like that's not really a complaint towards the musician. That's just because it's not my style and it's not the type of instrument that speaks to me. So that's not really. That's just more
yeah.
of a me thing. But I think, like I said, in context with that kind of music, I don't really know because I don't really listen to other types of traditional Spanish guitarists like that. So I don't really have
Ye-
anything else to
Okay.
compare it to. So I'd be curious to know, like having him versus another artist and see what they do differently and say what their tones like and what their melodies like. That's what
Yeah,
that's honestly what makes me really curious. Like it makes me want to do a deep dive and see who I really really like in this genre.
we could do that.
That'd be fun. Yeah, if you ever
Yeah.
have any other artists that you recommend or like ones you think I would like, just let me. I mean, obviously you know where I am.
Right. Well, right. Honestly, I like this kind of format for this episode. I wouldn't mind doing this for like every episode at this point because it gives us like a theme, and then we can build off of that. You know.
Yeah, we can randomly riff or do with themes. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I
No.
find
And then we can
yeah.
also like we can hype up. I can post like, hey, this is the album we're gonna be talking about for the next one. You know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it gets difficult because I'm not in it to fucking go anywhere. I'm doing this for fun. So you can kind of divide your audience by having a bunch of different types of stuff. It's like you bring people in for the music and then we're, sharing our dumb opinions on politics and people are like, I just want to listen. So you kind of have to build it. So like if like I'd rather do different things. I don't know if you want to take a stylistic approach to, making a specific format,
Oh,
but
right. We
I'm
don't
not
have to do this
going
necessarily every episode,
yeah.
but I think it is a recurring thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And some people just like hearing others talk for, a couple hours, and that's kind of the main appeal. It's kind of relaxing,
Right.
but
Yeah, it
I
is
don't know.
interesting to just hear people just and how it's interesting how conversations just how they're sparked and how like this thing leads into this thing and this whole causality thing.
It's
Yeah.
very fucking irritating to me is because I like listening to podcasts for that reason. It's a very easy listen. Sometimes the topics are very interesting and I learn stuff I didn't know before. And a lot of times when I listen back onto the stuff that we do, there's a lot of times, like I said, I hate my word choices. I feel like I'm more concise in my head, but
Yeah,
then
I feel like I'm going too much off of feeling or
yeah,
like I'm saying like too much like I just did.
exactly. I do that
Or
all
it's
and
not structured, yeah, it's not sophisticated.
it drives me insane when I listen to these back. It's like, God, dude, I hate that I say that all the time. And
Yes, I know.
the one thing that I thought was fucking hilarious was on the last one that we did, I kept saying I kept saying, it's crazier, that's crazier, this is crazy. I must have said that like 20 times in the fucking 2 hours that we did it. So it's like, sometimes it's not an easy listen for me to go back to these stuff because it's like, I just keep over analyzing and
Right.
over criticizing and it just becomes like, fuck, man.
Yeah,
But
because
that's
it
why.
is very hard to listen to the sound of your own voice. It can be very annoying.
Well, I don't have that. Like, I don't mind like listening to my own voice, but there's sometimes, or especially since like, I mean, this one's different because I actually made notes and I had a little bit more concise thoughts on this one. But when we're just
Yeah, my
talking about,
thoughts were not very concise. Or it's just because people tell me I speak way too much in hyperbole, but at the same time, I'm like, why can't I? There's
You
so much good out there. Like I love focusing on the good. There's so much great things. Yeah.
I don't think you speak with too much hyperbole. I think like our brains work quicker than our mouths, and you or me are very similar in that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I get in the trap of just like I can't describe why I like something other than just like it's so good. Or like I just use synonyms of the word good. I'm like, it's awesome, it's spectacular, it's extraordinary or something.
I honestly blame our just the way we live our life for that. See, like I had
Yeah.
that clear thought in my head and I couldn't even finish my fucking sentence. I blame society for that reason because especially with all the bullshit in our food and all the stuff that we're stressed out about and how quick the world
Yeah.
works now, it's like you don't have time to really think about words and really think about what you mean on something. I feel like the only way you do that is through therapy sessions because you have somebody that can help you organize your thoughts and you actually come up with really insightful stuff. So I've always enjoyed doing stuff like that. Have you ever been through therapy?
Yeah, it's not something I want to talk about right now.
We don't have to get into it.
Right. No, yeah, I have had to go.
But did you enjoy doing was it helpful for you to have somebody discuss you were talking about your problems or you were very jumbled and then you had somebody kind of help you organize it or really explain why you did things? Like, was that helpful to you?
Well, so the first I had this lady, I don't want to get into it, but then we had to get someone else. I really liked this other guy I had because honestly, because there was this thing going on in my life, and a lot of his stuff, he didn't really ask me what was going on in my real life because he was just asking me like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And then we would get in a conversation about that. I was like, oh, I watched this movie and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And I was like, yeah, I think that's a great way of doing therapy, because it was almost like an escape from the real world.
Well, that's what I liked about it too, because I feel very, agitated of having mundane small talk with people. So I liked having deeper conversations with my therapist because, it was actually engaging. She would ask me questions, I would ask questions and stuff like that. And sometimes it was funny because she even told me, it's good to get a second perspective of people criticizing the stuff that you do or asking the reasons why you do things because I would just talk and then she would ask me or not. She would just tell me sometimes I don't even know what to say to you, Jason, because sometimes you just, you overanalyze everything. And then when you sit there and tell this to me, there's no reason for my input because you've already figured out. Sometimes you just need to listen to yourself and just do the thing you're saying. And it's not as complicated as you're making it sounding like. So stuff like that I've loved. I like getting second perspectives on the shit that I do so I can really do it because it's more analyzing because I do that about everything. Mm-hmm. But no, I think, and like I said, you can accept or deny, but I think on one of the later episodes that we do, I think we should go into it. I think there's a lot of beautiful moments and sadness, and I think a lot of the listeners can relate to it. So whenever you're ready, whatever you don't want to go into right now about.
Okay.
Because I think it's a cool thing to do, especially, it helps you move past whatever, but also it's very interesting. And it's like when you're sad and you listen to a sad song, stuff like that really just brings out. Yeah. So in the future, stuff like that, I'd be down to do as well, because it's always interesting talking about problems and, sharing those moments.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man.
But I don't know. I feel like I'm more venti on this one, but yeah, I like I know I really enjoy. I think that's the whole point of music. I think music brings all of that out of people.
Yeah, they're almost like the manifestations of just our internal emotions.
Yeah, of course. Subconscious
they're our
poking
internal
out.
Emotions just external. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just subconscious poking out, and that's why I think so. There's one interview that I listened to with Maynard where he's talking about Al Jorgensen, who's the singer for Ministry, and he was saying how he basically couldn't fucking write anything that was good unless he was high or under the influence of something. And it was basically making the point of a lot of musicians are basically musicians because there's something broken inside them that they need to express in a certain way, or why we listen to this type of music in general, because it gets out all of those negative repressive emotions, or just makes you feel comforted in that sort of aspect, and it makes you have the ability to enjoy other types of music, because a lot of metalheads do like a lot of different styles of music, like especially the people that I talk to when I go to shows. Very, very insightful in a lot of different music, and there's genres I've never even heard of that people, oh, you gotta check this out, and it gives you the same sort of feeling. So
Yeah,
that's the
like I
one thing that
just
I've
did with you
noticed.
now with the Argentine guitar.
Yeah, exactly, and that exact thing is the type of conversations that I always have with people that are into this type of music. Is they're very, very, very well versed in anything music, and this is why I hate talking to most people that are not into this genre, because that's the, like, if it's rap or country, that's like the only shit that they listen to.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like the bulk of people that are like in our age range, I just that's all they listen to. And I'm
Yeah,
like, all
and
right,
I
you do you, man, but
yeah,
you're missing out on a lot of stuff.
and I like a lot of rap, and
Oh yeah, same.
I don't like modern country. I like some of the older country, because some of the older country was very Spanish, classical
Yeah,
sounding, also Western
there's some.
sounding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Western sounds good, like the for like stuff from the '70s and stuff. I like that kind of country music.
Have you ever heard on? I forgot to make this point earlier. Some of the classical guitar, well, excuse me, parts that on this album that remind me is. Do you know who Peggy Sue is? I think that's her name, Peggy Sue.
I think so. Or am I filling me in again? Maybe I think I do.
She was a '50s country singer, and you know the game Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
So a lot of that soundtrack was in that game, and I think that was the one song, the song Johnny Guitar, is a very sad song, and it
Okay.
had a very like it had a very cool little classical melody in the background of the song. But that's kind of what it reminded me of, and that's what I was kind of looking for in this album, was some of the more laid back, sadder, kind of moodier stuff you can listen to at night. Um, but that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, I don't like modern country. I think it's just everything wrong with modern, commercial music. It just
Oh, dude,
is.
me and you, we could shit all over commercial music for days, dude.
We don't even have to. The only thing I'll say is there's a YouTube video of a guy taking like 20 country songs by 20 different artists, and he puts them into one big song, and it sounds like it's the same song. So that's really all you need to know.
You could do the same thing with rap music.
You honestly could do the same thing in every genre, but the fact that it's so fucking easy, like it sounds like one fluid song in country, is incredible. It's just literally a few chords and the same structures and the same auto tune and the same sounds and the same rap beat in the every country fucking thing has like a rap hi hat in the background. It's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious.
I hate right. I hate that like
Yeah.
country pop style, like
Yeah.
Florida Georgia line. Music is
Yeah.
just
And
god awful.
it's not even like, oh, it's just a different genre. I don't like your music, is subjective. It's just a lazy
Yeah,
fucking
no,
there's no integrity in the music at
yeah,
all.
exactly. It's because that kind of music, it doesn't make me feel anything. Like I was saying with,
Yeah.
with the death metal, it just feels like it has no soul. Like
Yeah.
it's just, it's not 0 out of 10. It's just five. It's just
Yeah.
5 out of 10. It's
I
just
would
so like whatever.
yeah,
Because
I
I don't
would
want to listen to like a whatever album. I want to listen to either something that's like really awesome or just really hilariously bad. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think I would respect it more if they actually wrote their own music too. Like that's my main
Hmm.
problem, is like it's just a few producers from these record companies that just shit out these songs, and whoever, is the name on that song gets the credit, and that's just the thing. I just don't have respect for it as an art form in terms of how the music is made. But like I said, if it even came down to me liking the genre, it goes back to what I was saying about Ghosts. I like that band, but their commercial bullshit that they're doing is just, and it's not even because they're getting popular and they're a sellout. Like that's not even where I'm going. It's the fact that like, they can't even keep a full band because their musicians don't even want to stand him, and they have ghost writers on the tracks now, which is kind of funny because their name's Ghost. So I don't know. I just
Hey,
kind of lost respect for that reason. So even if I liked country, I still would probably have the same sort of grievance with it.
yeah. Um, we were talking about earlier at the guitar store Coldplay. Like I was
Yeah.
talking, their first three albums. They really emulate that kind of like British soft rock kind of
Yeah.
style. It's really dreamy and it's really moody, and they have some really good piano riffs, is how you say.
Yeah, so Coldplay I'm kind of indifferent to.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not a fan of them, but I don't have really anything bad to say against them. I just don't like the music. I feel like it's a little bit more.
Seriously.
I think it has a lot more integrity than a lot of other bands in their kind of genre.
Well, thanks for
because
admitting
they
that.
well no like it's not a it's literally just a it's not a personal thing. It's just I see stuff for what it is, or I enjoy the music, or both. It's not like I don't like.
Yeah.
I feel like people forget that you cannot like something and it's okay. Like it really is okay.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like you
So like,
can,
yeah,
like you don't have to like something just because it's on like the top 10 greatest whatever of all time on some bullshit website.
yeah. People are just used to like seeing that fake Hollywood narrative of you have to have self love all the time, or you have to pretend to like everything, otherwise you're not a fucking socialite. So you don't have to
People,
be that way. You can not like shit and it's fine.
yeah, no, people have told me that I like way too many things, and I'm so positive like all the time.
Yeah, but if you mean them, it's good. Like you're supposed like
Yes,
you
no,
don't
because
want to.
there's. Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
no, I keep cutting you off. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm saucing
um,
right now.
no, I mean you're supposed to like all that shit. Like I had a problem early on where it's just I was becoming way too cynical with everything. It's not good to just hate shit and
Same,
bitch and
same. I
mine
felt
all
like
the time.
right. And I mean, also like I am also in a very good position in my life. That also like external factors do feed into how, like your mental health does feed into how well you're
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you're gonna appreciate music and stuff like that. Because I got to a point where just like it didn't matter. Like back when I was in ninth grade, I was really not in a good place. Like movies, like I didn't. They were so boring. Video games were so boring. I couldn't listen to the music. I feel like I couldn't like do anything. Like it all was
Yeah.
just so bleh.
And that's kind of I'm glad you brought up that point because I to make it clear for the people who are listening, it is very difficult to do this stuff when you're not in a good situation in your life. Like I said, I'm in a good place in my life too. So
Right.
I have more of my focus on that stuff because I feel like if you are in a good spot and you're still bitching and you're still complaining and you're still being absolutely cynical about everything, it's just all it does is hurt you more. It's just super fucking destructive. So, if you are in that spot, just know that once you do get to that spot that is better, you really have to focus on liking a bunch of shit. It's your only way out of
Right.
this.
Also, we don't, we're not. I don't want this to be like the big discussion because we already talked about this last episode. But honestly, another thing is because like I lacked Jesus in my life, and now
Right.
that I have Him in my life, I can just see all of the awesome things that He created. And I can see his. I can see the gospel in so many different kinds of genres of music. Like this. Even the two albums we listened to, which are very different, I could see the gospel emulated in both of them, very very much.
Yeah, I think everybody has to have that thing that really just makes their life give purpose or have purpose, I should say.
Yeah, because I
But
mean,
that,
as
that
humans, we long for that.
but I made that point in the when we were like I said, and when we were discussing it the last time, that was my thing is that I never got any sort of reverence from going to church or listening to people talk. I got that in the music. I got that in those small moments. So like that's where I saw most of that sort of aspect was in music.
Yeah, man. I don't. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna make you go, but you're familiar with the Latin Mass, right?
I've been to a couple, yeah.
But have you been to like the High Mass where everything is sung?
No, I don't think so.
Dude, those are they're cool. They're cool. They-
I'm down to go. I don't have a problem with anything. I'll either find it boring or I'll enjoy it. Like it's not like a
right, right.
problem. I'll try
Well, so
anything.
yeah, okay. So the High Mass is the well, okay. So in a low mass, there's no music. It's completely silent. You hear the priests saying the prayers in Latin, and
Yeah,
that's it really. I mean, um, he does preach the gospel and he gives the homily, but that's the
yeah,
only English you're ever gonna hear. And but so in the High Mass, everything is sung. There is zero like just spoken words. Everything is sung in Latin. It's just music. There's a bunch of different kinds of music. There's like the organ stuff, but then there's also just there's just a cappella stuff that people sing in
yeah.
preparation for the Eucharist, and it really makes you just ponder the mysteries of the Christian faith, if you know what I'm saying. And a lot of it is it's in these very moody minor keys.
Is there
That
still a sermon through the service?
what do you mean? Like
Like, if you're saying the majority of the service is sung like that, that I feel like I would actually enjoy that a lot more because my
it
biggest
is.
problem.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
the only thing that's spoken is the actual homily where the priest interprets the gospel for us. Because the
Okay,
whole
yeah.
gospel is just they just sing it. It's so epic. Because you know how, in Islam they chant when they chant the Quran. It's really cool. It's you get those kind of
Oh yeah.
vibes where you feel like you're like, yeah, this is something like really like ancient and mysterious and mystical almost, and that's why I'm like that's what honestly got me attracted to Catholicism when I went to those kind of masses, because before that I had never really been to that kind of mass because a lot of it's unfortunately gone. And I'm telling you, man, you don't have to go, but I think it'd be really cool if you did.
No, I'm down to go. And like I said, I probably
Okay.
would enjoy that more because the one thing that I could like, the one thing that bores me to fucking death is when like whoever is doing the sermon just sits up there and just like talks. Like, my problem is like they don't come with anything interesting to me. With like when they're like just reciting something is one thing, but when they're trying to like make a story and kind of make it's just it's so fucking boring to me. I can't take it. But I like
Yeah,
the
it's very dependent on who the
yeah.
preacher is.
So I probably would enjoy it more because like it's kind of a darker atmosphere and it's like say you kind of can just zone out to the chants and so
Yeah,
I guess I
you feel like you're just in the zone, man.
yeah I'm down to go. I probably would enjoy that 10 times better. But I've been
Yeah,
to a
and
yeah
I'm sorry.
I've been to a couple masses.
Okay.
I think the worst one was my grandfather's funeral. That was just fucking because like for me it's difficult to sit through a religious thing when like like someone's dead to me, especially it's somebody I know, because it doesn't there's no personal reverence with the words, you know what I
Right.
mean, especially if they're just reciting gospel stuff when the guy's right there. It's just like there's no people talking about personal experiences they've had with him. Like, to me, I think that's the worst thing is like sitting through a religious funeral, whereas like
Well,
the actual
for me,
ceremony.
I think. Well, okay, that's the thing. In the traditional Catholic funerals, are you familiar with the Dies Irae?
I might have sat through it. Honestly, the worst thing to me, and I when I say this, I really don't want people to get offended because it's not something I really mean with malintent at all.
Well,
But
it doesn't. Yeah,
just
it doesn't matter.
well, no, seriously, like I mean it this way because I'm like I didn't grow up Catholic, so like I don't have the meaning of the rosary, and to me it just sounds like they're saying the same shit over and over again, and I have to sit there and just wait for it to be over. Especially like at a funeral too, it's like waiting for that to be like it just was. And again, because I'm not Catholic, so it didn't have that meaning to me, so I'm sure it had a lot of meaning to my grandfather because he was devoutly Catholic, so that's something that you cannot skip without it. But for me, having no meaning to it, just sitting there listening to like them
Right.
recite the
Okay.
rosary,
Yeah. It's just kind of monotonous to you.
yeah, it's just like,
I
come
see
on,
what you're
guys.
saying.
But
Right.
again, it's not my world. It's like, it's what my grandfather would have wanted. That's what makes him happy. So, it's not my place to
Okay.
say like fuck this, but it's just like, dude, it was hard
Right.
to sit
Okay.
through. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, as a practicing Catholic, I try to say it every day. I have it on a YouTube video. It gets it done in about like 18 minutes. It's in Spanish and it has some litanies at the end.
Yeah.
I think. Well, so the interesting thing about the Rosary and why it's really important is because each decade. So there's 5 decades, and each decade has a mystery, and the mysteries are essentially everything you believe in as a Christian. It like goes through all of because the different days of the week have the different categories of the mysteries. So there's like the luminous mysteries, the joyful mysteries, the sorrowful mysteries, um, and yeah. And so the sorrowful mysteries, are like the crucifixion, or like the agony in the garden, and the joyful mysteries are like the birth of Jesus, and stuff like that. And there's the different moods for the different mysteries, and you just see the whole just the story of Jesus, and you ponder the fruits and the morals of each of those mysteries. Yeah.
I think for me, like I said, like if I don't know if it was the repetitiveness of it or if the fact that it was really, I guess, I mean, 18 minutes isn't really that long in the grand scheme of things. It just felt like it was long just sitting through it.
Right.
But I don't know. Like also because I was trying to follow the order and I was getting lost in the order. So I was like, where the fuck are they going? Like, because I had a sheet because I remember like reading a sheet. I was like, this is the instructions of how to do the rosary. I'm like, what the fuck? So I was trying to follow the order. I was like, why are they going to this part now? So I don't know. It was very strange. And I was just like, okay. But but no, I think that's my main problem is that like I would feel more of God's presence in that just chanting and music than I would listening to a fucking dude sit there and talk about it. You know what I mean?
People do sing the rosary, even if it takes like an hour.
I'd rather them sing it honestly, so I can like get relaxed and zone out to it than just like listen to people talk about it in unison. Like I don't know.
Mhm.
I think I would. Yeah.
But honestly, dude, I think the biggest reason why people commit apostasy is because they think that they think that Christianity is lame, and they think it's not cool and mysterious enough. And I just think it's because people haven't been exposed to like the Latin, um, like the Latin mass and just that side of Christianity and the Latin prayers and just like the chanting and stuff like that. It's just gone in a lot of and not just in like the Protestant faith and like that kind of stuff, but just even in like the Catholic faith, it's just becoming way too just like I guess not modernized, but it's compromised. The music is too like, like because when I'm in a church, I don't want to hear just like a strumming guitar in C and G. I want to hear like an organ. I want to feel like I'm transported like to another world. Like I want to feel like I'm not just in any other building on the street. I want to feel like I'm in the house of God. If you know what I'm saying.
What's funny is that's what a lot of people say about Ghosts is that their concerts feel like you're actually at a church service sometimes with the way they set it up and like the background of they have like a bunch of stained glass windows and they have it very cathedral like. And they also, when I saw them, they played in the very old style theaters in DC and Baltimore, and they were just the perfect vibe for them. The sound was good. It was meant to be played that way. And like I said, a lot of people that are into this genre were probably like they were like I know a lot of people that were raised in Catholic school and they just did not have a good time. They were like rebellious or like they were had drug problems or just that strict upbringing they just couldn't handle. So they kind of flaunted to that type of music, and that's where a lot of them like that. But when I talked to a lot of people, because I was genuinely curious why they liked the band, because it was kind of an interesting concept, because I don't get an religious feeling from Ghost. To me, it just is more of their gimmick. Like it's funny, like it's like I don't remember the story, but he's basically like every album is like a new pope they elect, but it's like the same dude. And they just create like a whole backstory behind him, and it's basically they're using like a it's more of a joke. It's like they're taking the whole concept of the Pope, but they're doing it like if the devil had like the same sort of things. So there was never any like you don't get a sense of disrespect. It's just like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing with them.
I see what you're saying.
More than other metal bands of that genre, because there's a lot of like extremely anti-religious bands, like I was saying, the black metal. I mean, yeah, but they're more for entertainment. I'm talking about the bands that literally like burn down churches in Norway, like they're about that life.
Oh, so you're saying Behemoth is just kind of like just for shock value?
Yeah, they're shock value. I mean, obviously, well, okay, so their thing is like they're anti like established religion because Poland, where they're from, is they have a lot of I guess theocratical laws. So like they've been in trouble with the government a lot of times. So a lot of their anti-religious like theme in their music was basically a fuck you to the government is really more of their thing.
Yeah, because I was gonna say most like Polish people are really Catholic, to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like obviously they probably like that kind of music, and then I assume they got shunned for that. So that it's more of like a fuck you to the government of the established religion than more just religion itself. But with Ghost, it's more of a fucking it's more of a theme gimmick, because when you go there, like I said, it really does feel like a church service with the music, and he has like funny stage banner, but it's never like, how do I explain it? They do it exactly like you did. Like they have like little communion wafers with their logo on it. There's nuns that come, like but it's not like goofy to where the point where it's satirical. It's just like it's just like they sat around like, what would happen if the devil did this? You know what I mean? That's kind of more of the thing with them.
So it's not like the Pope is the Antichrist. It's like this is the anti-Pope.
No.
Like it's the whole inverse of all that stuff.
Exactly. It's literally the inverse of it. So it's literally like if the Yeah, it's literally like if the devil was God and then he had a pope. It's basically they run it the same exact. It's a funny concept. So it's not really. I mean, I don't know the personal religious views of the band, but they're not really like anti-religious. They're just doing it to. It's just more of a. It's like a showy gimmick.
Right.
Yeah, but when I don't know, they don't like I said, a lot of their lyrics are like praising Satan, but only like if like it's the same thing like. They're doing it from like because how do I explain it? It's literally just like I said, it's literally just the inverse. So it's like everybody when they listen to their music, oh, he's talking about Satan, but like he's doing it in a way like if you're talking about God, it'd be the same. Like they're giving him praise and they're thanking him for all the stuff, and you know what I mean? Like it's kind of that way.
He is the opposite.
Exactly. So that's kind of the way they do it, and I always thought it was a funny kind of gimmick. But yeah, now they're just kind of really commercial, and it's just like I've kind of lost with it, but. Yeah. When they started, they were a really cool band.
How old are they?
I don't know. I think their first album may have been like 2008, 2012, maybe. I don't know. They, like mid 2000s. Yeah, they're not that old.
Okay.
Definitely not 90s. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely go to one. That'd be a fun experience because I like I said, I like trying new things. I've been to a bunch of different types of church services. I haven't been to a Mormon one. I haven't been to a Jewish one. I haven't been to a Islam or Buddhist one. But almost every type of church or every type of Christian sect I've been to.
Have you been to an Orthodox Mass?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't really know categorically what's different between them because I've only been to a couple of Catholic services. I haven't really been to.
Is the most similar to Catholic.
Okay.
In terms of all of the Christian sects and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I can count on my hand the amount of times I've been to anything Catholic related.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm down to try whatever. I think you can. That's the other point too. I think no matter what you do. I think if you go into something thinking you can't pull any meaning from it, I think it's the wrong attitude to have. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that I do that I don't want to do, and there's a lot of people that I talk to that I don't want to talk to. Right. I always go into thinking about it, there's always something I can learn, or there's always a different outlook I can have. I think
because it's a new experience, and
exactly
you're always gonna get something out of going to something new. But it is hard to go to another person's religious ceremony because you almost feel like it's just awkward and you don't want to be disrespectful, and just like you just don't really know how to be in there. You just feel like you're just like, this is just weird, it can be like that.
I will say though, and this is my very limited experience, like I said, I've only maybe been to 2 different types of Catholic churches, but I've been to millions of, like I said, Baptist, Methodist, whatever the fucking shit, Protestant.
Right.
The atmosphere is very different because unlike all those other sects, like every time I've been to a Catholic service or mass, it's the only religious experience that I've been to that doesn't feel welcoming. Like in any other church you go to, people are always very friendly and they make you feel wanted there. But Catholics, or I don't know, I guess it makes you feel like you're not a part of this big club that they're in. Like it's a very unwelcoming atmosphere. I think it's the biggest difference. Because you go to any, especially in the South, like everybody's so fucking like, you go to a Pentecostal service in Georgia, everybody's gonna be singing and dancing and happy that you're there and just come up and hug you and shit. But Catholics, they just kind of look at you weird if you're a little bit different.
Really, all the Pentecostal stuff, or maybe it's like the Baptist stuff. That stuff is like really uncomfortable. All this stuff they make you do, and the yelling and all that stuff.
Oh, it can be. I'm not talking about the services, dude. Baptist services are wild, and I really want to go to a snake handling one. Because those like West Virginia snake churches, I really want to go to one just to see what the fuck is up. But besides the stuff they're saying in the service, which is fucking wild, it's a more welcoming atmosphere if you look like me. I will say, if you're not white, it's a very unwelcome, uncomfortable experience. But if you look like me, it's very welcoming. But I don't know, I get that same sort of sentiment of like. Just uncomfortable atmosphere when I'm in a Catholic service because I feel like everybody's staring at me. It's very strange.
There used to be. Well, I mean, what are you wearing?
I wear nice clothes. I'll wear a nice,
Okay,
button
okay,
down shirt. Like I dress like I dress nice for this. I'm not in there in a fucking band shirt and jeans and shit.
right.
Like I look the part, but it's just I don't know. I just feel very unwelcome every time I walked into one.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
I'm not
okay.
disrespectful at all. Like I'll fucking do as the Romans do. you know, because I think it's
Yeah.
fun. I don't normally like dressing up. I think it's kind of irritating, but I like doing that for specific functions. Like if I'm going out to a nice
Mm.
dinner or a wedding, I like doing stuff like that.
I wish we dressed up more, because that's a big thing that we lost is just the meaning of like the clothing we wear
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Because
I do hate
a
modern
big
style. Yeah,
yes, because a big thing, like a product of secularism and just like the secularization of not just America, but just how and one I know American influence is worldwide now, and how all of the secular influence got through all the worlds. Because a lot of the stuff here is just designed. It's utilitarian, so it's just going to be designed for convenience, and when with that you lose a lot of the like the integrity, like you were talking about, and you lose like a lot of meaning in things, and that's how things get bland. That's where the whole stereotype of that like white people have no culture comes from. It's because of like the consumerist like attitude. It was super secular, and it just wanted to make everything convenient, and that's really the product of that. And yeah, it just comes from secularism pretty much.
I think it can come from anything. Anytime you have some sort of commercial or corporate environment like that, or if I mean it's pretty, it's pretty blatant the churches that are in it for the money and the ones that are in it for the actual word or the communal I
Yeah.
mean yeah, like those fucking mega churches are the ones that
Yes.
yeah,
No.
those are the worst example of that. But it just depends on what you're doing. But also, I don't like, to me, like that's just human nature. So it doesn't matter if you're religious or not. I think that can transfer anywhere. That's just like
Yeah.
people get sucked into an ideology and they just think that that's the only way to be, and every outside voice is just the anti thesis of everything, which is a bad way to live in general. But I don't think that's specific to religious or not religious. I just think that's a lot of people.
Except Catholicism.
You don't think that's very corporate, monogamous culture where it's like there's a specific set of rules that you're supposed to follow, and if you deviate from that, then you're kind of an outcast. Like you don't think that
Well,
creates a
every
very
religion has rules. I mean, society has rules. I mean, we all have like every single society has these rules that they're trying to follow. That's why we're like humans are civilized. Well, for the most part, and that's what makes us different than animals is because we have rules, and we're
right. I'm not
trying to
saying
wait. What?
I'm not saying you shouldn't have rules. What I'm saying is like it's a very specific way that like it just depends on what you're talking about. Like you're not talking about morality when it's when you're wearing a piece of clothing. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't coincide.
Well, I mean, you can be with clothing. You could be modest, or you could be really excessive and stuff like that.
Right, but it doesn't like I don't know. How do I put it? I don't think like that topic of like it's stuff that doesn't land you in jail or like hurt other people. I don't think should really be like a rule. You know what I mean?
Well, Catholicism isn't really that strict when you think about it.
Well, I'm not like specifically naming Catholicism. I'm just saying like
Okay.
having like a specific set of rules for each culture, and that's how you're supposed to follow them. And then if you're considered an outcast, if you don't do those things, regardless, like I said, it doesn't have any impact on, anything moral wise or legality wise. It's
Oh,
just
it
it's just a
does. I
different
mean,
style.
because
I'm saying if it doesn't,
okay, if it doesn't, well,
yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, you're harming yourself. You know.
It just depends on what it is. What I'm saying is like when you have a culture that has a very specific way that they operate, and you have any sort of deviation from that culture, and then the people just automatically get stubborn about it, I just think that's a bad way to be.
Do you think Western culture is like that?
I think every culture is like that. Everybody's ethnocentric, and they just don't want to admit it.
And that's very true, and that's why I think that's where I mean, because I think Catholicism, like you can see it, and how in like all of these different cultures, and how each culture that has like adopted Catholicism has like made it their own almost, and they still have the things that connect it to make it Catholic and stuff like that. But obviously, you can see the difference in the way that Italians are Catholic, or the way that the Irish are Catholic, or that Hispanics are Catholic, or even Filipinos.
Yeah, it's all different cultures. That's my
It's still
point.
Catholicism. Or I mean, if
No,
you
I
go
know.
to the, yeah, I mean, if you go to the churches in Japan, they won't even have pews. They'll just have like the mats, and you just sit down on them. I think that's very cool.
That's my whole point. Like, it doesn't matter if it's religion or music or like every culture has a specific way that they do things. And it doesn't matter what that thing is, but if you look at anything else besides that and then you think that's just a bad way to live, it just thinks it hurt. I just think it hurts it sets you back. And honestly, I think like when you see old people that are super fucking rough and like there's somebody that can be 75 and they talk like they're still young and you can have a wonderful conversation with them and you can talk about a lot of shit. Then there's other 75-year-olds that can barely get a fucking sentence out. And I think a lot of that a lot of it has to do with obviously being in the military, or if you have a lot of mental shit, or your body's just breaking down, like
Yeah.
that's different. But I feel like a lot of people that don't have health problems but their mind just deteriorates when they're old, I think it comes from like being stubborn in that way. I honestly think it just damages your brain if you don't think about new shit, because you can't live for 80 fucking years and think the same way. I just don't think it's good for our body.
Oh,
Like, I
sure. I
really
mean,
think it causes brain
no,
damage.
it is incredibly important to go outside of your comfort zone and to think of other perspectives, but that doesn't mean that the norms that you were taught weren't correct. Because
It doesn't matter if they're
there's a big distinction between that.
it doesn't matter if they're correct or not, because like you're only gonna think stuff is right and wrong your way until somebody shows you a better way, or there's another way that clicks with you, or you gain another perspective that you came up with on your own that still coincides with your beliefs, if you have that sort of cognitive dissonance, or if somebody shows you a better way. What I'm saying is that regardless if you think your way is right and other people's ways is wrong, if you don't set yourself up to learn something from that experience, or if you really question why, I think it just does you a disservice.
The only way that's right is Jesus' way.
Right, but you can interpret whatever that is in your own way. And if your
Yeah,
way,
it's
like if you
Jesus'
think
way.
like your way is the right way to do it, then, that's just how it's going to be. But I don't know, like I said, not even just in the context of religion. I just think that, if you think about anything and just you get not like, I don't understand how people can live on this planet for so long and just never like just be so stubborn and never gain another perspective about anything. Like it blows my mind how old people are that stubborn.
Well, I mean, you have to take into account like the internet and all that stuff. Like they just didn't really like they didn't have all of they just couldn't learn about like an island culture in like just look on their phone and just study it immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but they have that
They
stuff
weren't as
now and they have the
exposed to that.
capability. They
Well,
just
they probably
choose to
don't
not
even
do
know
that.
how to use it.
Well, a lot of people watch TV. I mean, obviously, watching TV is probably worse because you're not even doing any, like, you just are at the mercy of whatever somebody's telling you. But I don't know. It just, there's a lot of people that are old that grew up in the same generation that they don't have that excuse. Like, they can see through whatever the thing is, right? They don't have to rely on their upbringing. They don't have to rely on whatever their ideology is. Like, they can just see things objectively. And that's what I'm saying is, like, even though like they grew up in a different time, it blows my mind that you can live on this planet for that many years, which, I mean, in reality is short compared to everything else, but you still
Right.
just are the same exact way and you're still the same amount of stubborn. And just, I like how, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't live that long and be that fucking like cynical or be that stubborn or be that hurtful. You just fucking kill yourself and you kill your mind. Truly.
I'm sure that's why a lot of people end up ending their life in that way.
Probably because they find no meaning.
Yeah, because because that's the thing about that's part of human nature is that we have to find meaning. Like we're always trying to like figure out every single possible explanation and all these different angles and stuff like that, and all of these possible different things. That's why we do science. That's why we do religion and things like that, because we're searching for like like the last step.
Yeah, and I think in that search, it can be destructive if you don't have that balance. Like, I think the coolest part about, I don't know if this is, it's been a while since I've learned about Hinduism and Buddhism. So just the practice of yoga, which I think just means like everything or nothing. Like if you like they basically like America, it's different, right? Yoga means you're doing a fucking high intensive aerobic exercise, or people can just pretend to meditate and just sit there and be peaceful wherever. So it's like if you can't sit with yourself in that peace and just focus on nothing, you're not going to get any sort of reverence. Like you're just going to like you're never going to be content. Like everything you do, it's always going to be wanting more
All right. I mean, that's why the majority of this country is depressed.
Exactly. So
it's because they don't have. Well, a lot of people don't want to admit that it's just because we don't have religion anymore. And
well, it's that, and people just don't know how to chill the fuck out. Like people are so high strong, and everybody has fucking mental problems, and it's just like Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, and a lot of that just comes through the internet and how well off we are, which when we don't even realize how we are, just because we're so used to being here,
But that's what I'm saying. You got to play the game, because I feel like when I was younger, it was easier for me to get lost in that overstimulation. But that's what I'm saying. If you don't learn how to sit with yourself and focus on nothing, you're not going to survive in this world. Like
a lot of people don't know how to just be by themselves.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like if that's my whole point of view. When people don't fucking learn new perspectives, or they're just so stubborn, they're not going to be peaceful sitting there and just thinking about nothing. They're just going to think about shit that backs up their ideology, or just like backs their hatred for shit. Like it just doesn't stop. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody just needs to learn how to chill the fuck out, because your mental problems aren't going to go away. Your financial problems aren't going to go away. The numbness and the overstimulation is not going to go away, because we just live in this awful society. So if you don't find a way to chill the fuck out, you're going to commit suicide, or just live a brain damaged life and get dementia when you're 70, or a heart attack at 40. People need to slow down.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the reason why I'm Catholic. It's just because like being born here, and just there's so much that I think like there's so much to be happy about and thankful for being in this country, which a lot of it we take for granted. And it's great to bitch and complain about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, like we have it great, like God's given us a lot of things, and there's so much, like we listen to this great music, and it's another thing that we take for granted, just the fact that we can listen to music whenever the fuck we want. Because like imagine back in the day, you had to play it yourself, or you had to go to like an orchestra, or you had to just hear someone on the street playing folk music. Like,
do you think if, and this is a genuine question, not even like against like believing in religion or believing in God or not, like do you think if the majority of the world was religious, like there would be just like very few problems with everything? Like do you think people would still know how to handle all that?
I mean, everyone's religious, they just don't realize.
Well, okay, I guess if everybody subscribed to the traditional Catholic structure,
Yeah, I am a believer in that.
So you don't think like our human nature, like our quest to want more and our quest to just self-destruct would be kind of getting in the way of that, even if like people didn't rebel against the idea of a deity or an organized religion?
Well, I mean, that's why we have religion, to like keep us in check and stuff like that, and that's why we have disciplines to
but people, that's what I'm saying. People can be still brought in that upbringing and still just feel the need to self-destruct.
Be evil,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think if I guess let me rephrase my question to make it more specific. Sure. Do you think that if the majority of the world was like that, if there would be like, because would our human nature of self-destruction get in the way of that still, even if everybody still had that standard Catholic belief?
I mean, it would still be around, but I mean, it would just be significantly less of a problem, and
it wouldn't be as prevalent.
No, I don't think it would be.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't care what it is. Like, if it takes people going back to religion to just fucking chill out, or if everybody becomes Buddhist, or everybody just fucking, I just think everybody needs to find fucking something, because getting real stressful out here.
No, it's because now another big problem in our modern society is that just no one gives a shit about anything.
You cut out a bit. You say no one cares about anything?
Yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest problems in modern society.
I think, because it's hard to know what to care about, because I think there's a lot of mistrust, and there's a lot of evil, and there's a lot of danger, so it is very difficult to put the right things to care, especially like when we're living in a country where nobody even trusts the local government. Like, how the fuck are you even going to trust the shit that, like, it's just difficult. Like, it's just bullshit no matter how high you stack it. And you always tell everybody, like, anybody that believes in voting always says, why did you vote for this person? Oh, because he wasn't as bad as the other guy. Like,
Yeah,
nobody
just the
fucking
lesser of
likes,
two evils.
exactly, nobody likes the fucking candidate they vote for, and that's a problem. And they carry that attitude with everything, like, oh, I'll do the bare minimum. And I did that with school, man. Like, I had no respect for it, and I didn't care about it, and I did the bare minimum, and I learned nothing, really.
Yeah, but at the same time, school could suck my dick. It didn't matter, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to find the right things to care about, and if people aren't on that quest, you're right. Just having apathy fill them for everything is a horrible way to be, and I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I was listening to the "Injustice for All" title track. They had a line about that, how apathy is like what the government wants.
Oh yeah,
It's like I'm
dude.
like, ooh, a lot of their lyrics, dude. A lot of Metallica's lyrics, they just like seep into my soul. They have really good lyrics to their songs.
Yeah, man. That's like I said before, the George Carlin thing. They want everybody just smart enough to work the machines and just dumb enough to fucking not know how they work. And they want everybody medicated. They want. I'm sure they're loving this whole rise in mental health crisis. Like, oh yeah, everybody's on lithium. That's perfect. Like, God.
Oh yeah, Thomas Sowell mentioned the idea of how when we're always complaining about how these people get paid so much money, and he's like, well, at the same time, it's like there's a bunch of different occupations. Like, do you know how to do that? No. It's like, yeah, you're using this computer right now, but it's like the vast majority of the population has no idea how it's made, or like could ever construct one if their mind depended on it. So it's like, yeah, you see where I'm getting at?
Are you
Like
saying
they
the people that they don't think? Hold on. You don't think that people should bitch about the stuff that they can't do? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like just focus on yourself, man.
Okay. No, I agree. I think that you can I think everything should be open to criticism because I'm of the firm believer
Sure,
like
sure.
the better way is gonna win. And I don't think that's how our society works right now. I think the thing that is there's so many cover-ups and deception, like the better way is not even an option. But if we were to ever find a way to, have the right amount of criticism and the right amount of responsibility for shit, as opposed to just having the right, knowing the right person or being the right political figure, or having enough money to, escape all that shit, I feel like the better way would always win. Like that's
Mm,
something you need dissent, you need criticism, because if nobody questioned anything, it's just what's the point, and it's just rife for control. So
right.
I don't know. But yeah, yeah, fucking, I have no faith in anything. Even like I said, like you pointed out earlier, we have a lot of stuff that we take for granted in this country, but simultaneously, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on that our lives would be like. Could you imagine how advanced and enlightened of a society we'd be if we didn't have all this bullshit? If we actually like had innovation, if we
Oh,
actually,
like the technology being a scam, which I do agree with you.
yeah.
The whole
Did I
like
ever?
Apple bullshit. Yeah.
Did I ever mention how I think like the government waters down every sort of innovative technology that we have?
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, so it's like I just think that progress and growth is so slow, and I think socially we're going backwards. Everybody just believes
Right.
dumb fucking rhetoric, and it just makes it worse. So
Well, for me, at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I could complain about that, but I mean, I live in my house with my loving parents, and I have running water, I have lights, I have air
right,
conditioning. It's great.
but like I said before, you're not gonna have that forever. So
Well,
once that goes away, I
I
think you'll have a
mean,
different perspective.
well, I mean, if not, that's what the Lord wants. Just gotta trust that He has a plan.
I just think you need to prepare your mind for that sort of stuff because, like I said, when we were mentioning it earlier, it's easy to forget about appreciation and the likeness of things when you're in a bad situation. So as long as you just prepare yourself for that and just take everything day by day, then
Yeah,
you're ready for it.
yeah. Well, also when things are just too good, it can be hard to appreciate things. Cause like I like the thought dawned on me today. I was like, oh yeah, what if like we're in the war with Russia and I have to they just send me over and I have to fight even though I don't want to.
It's a real world possibility, man. I was slightly worried about it for a little bit, but then I realized we don't want to fucking get involved in this.
No, people saying that we should. I'm like, are you literally retarded? It's
Yeah.
just like no.
They say that because they've never been like, obviously the worst thing that has happened is people being fucking drafted to the Middle East to fight that thing, but they've never had a fucking home war or have it be like dropped from a plane into a fucking gunfire. Like, it's just not like that.
Right. No,
I
but
don't know.
also like, what was I gonna say? And my thought left me.
TikTok, motherfucker.
Yep. Oh no, but also yeah, I was gonna say like a lot of people from like just like both Republicans and Democrats are like, they're like, no, this is good because this will rally the country and it'll get us back together. And it's like, well, okay, that doesn't matter if we're not even like fucking ready for it and we're not nearly prepared.
Isn't it crazy that it takes a really awful, life-changing event to make people stop fucking bitching at each other for 1 second?
Yeah, I mean 9/11 did that.
9/11 did a lot of things. A lot of
9/11 did 9/11, dude.
9/11 did a lot of 9/11 things.
Oh yeah. Do you think that was the most important event in the past, like of the 21st century so far?
I think for this country, well, I mean, I don't know. I guess for the Middle East too, because there's a lot, like, it was just awful for everybody. Like, the fact that we had to go in and like spend our lives, and then we had to go in and they had to spend their lives for all that like, it was bad all the way around.
That stuff's bad. And like also
it's awful.
Something that people don't talk about is like when we were bombing these countries, like a lot of Christian minorities of these countries were just killed, and there was complete disregard for their lives.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no matter what fucking faith, there's just disregard for everything. Like, it was like, the thing that I don't like about...
I just don't like if people don't really mention that when I think it should be mentioned.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That the thing I don't like about this topic is, like, to me, like, I saw it for what it was. Like, it was an awful thing all the way around, from the second the plane hit the fucking tower to the second that we pull out of Afghanistan. Like, it's just been nothing but fucking agony, death, sorrow, economic ruin for everybody. You know, it's just not good all the way around. So I don't feel the need to politicize it, because everybody's to blame in our country. Like, nobody, like, it's just crazy the way people can just get sucked into political ideology and not realize that this is just an awful thing all the way around, and your side is not better. It's just that simple.
That's where Jesus comes in, man.
You think he'd want to bomb the Middle East?
No, that is not nearly.
Because he's fucking from there.
Yes, he is. But
he's like, you can get fucking Saudi Arabia, just don't hit Israel.
Jesus. I know. I'm just saying that, like, I'm just like, bro, this wouldn't be happening if we all had Jesus, man.
Well, I don't think the majority of people were not religious. I feel like everybody was. Like, most people that felt compelled to fight were religious, wouldn't you say?
But at the same time, like, it's just like you were talking about with the blaming and stuff like that, and you go all the way back, and it's just like, whose fault is this?
I think it's all like, it's just a product of bureaucracy. Like, it really honestly didn't even have anything to do with 9/11. Like, to be completely honest, like, it was just greed.
You think that just got... Okay, dude.
Yeah. I think it was just straight up greed. Like, who, like, do you really think our government gives a fuck if people die? Like, if you really be honest with yourself, do they really fucking care? They built a new fucking monument in a couple of years. Like, they don't give a shit if we die or live.
Some probably not, but some, I'm sure they do genuinely care. I don't really know.
Really?
I mean,
because
that's why I don't like talking about this. Is just because for the bulk of all this stuff, it's just like, this isn't really important in our day-to-day lives, if you know what I'm saying.
It only becomes important when it affects you. Like, you can look at stuff that doesn't affect you and still think it has grave importance. What I'm saying is, like, the fact that, like, they just throw this bullshit medicine at us. They can do all this cancer-causing shit and not give a fuck, and have, you know, get companies paid off to go, like, commit atrocities and not have any sort of jail time or responsibility. Do you really think they care if a lot of us die?
Well, I mean, like I said, some... I'm sure they really don't, but at the same time, some I'm sure generally do.
I don't know. Everybody does something for a reason, and whether that reason was because of 9/11 or because they wanted to control some territory or they want to get resources from a proxy war or they wanted to fucking get all the poppies for our opium crisis that they like to fuel themselves. Like, whatever
It's
the fucking reason, it's just, I don't know, it's just
well, the
bad all the
greed,
way
bro. The
around.
greed comes from no Jesus, man.
Wherever it fucking comes from, it's just like, that's just what I see. It's just every political thing you can boil down to, it just comes to greed. It just comes from excess of people
Yeah.
not wanting enough or not getting enough.
And the greed comes from no Jesus, man.
You don't think there is any sort of well, I don't know. I guess you wouldn't consider them like religious because like mostly like I don't know if any of the mega
government officials or
no like if like going back to like the mega churches, I don't know if there's any like Catholic mega churches, but like I guess those people in their eyes consider themselves to have Jesus, and is I think it's an extremely greedy kind of pitfall. It's honestly a scam in my opinion.
who Catholics?
No, the like those mega churches, but I don't think I don't know if
My
there's any
knowledge
like
of that is limited, and I don't
okay,
want
so
to say anything about that.
I'm big into like scams, like multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes, con men. Like I take a really big
Or
interest in
like
that topic.
what was that shit with like the Reddit thing where they said to buy all these stocks and like all
Exactly.
what was
Like
that prank on Wall Street?
yeah, the GameStop thing. I actually was part of that.
Yeah.
I lost money because of that. I was part of it. But no, like scams are my big thing. So the biggest scams is these mega churches that basically all these pastors and shit fucking walk around in Gucci and fly in private jets, and they just keep funneling and hemorrhaging money and probably straight up money launder it too. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of tax evasion going on in terms of just the choices that they make. But I don't think any of them are Catholic. I don't think the majority of them are in Texas.
Okay.
So that's what I was asking. I was asking if like some of the mega churches were Catholic. I don't know. But what I'm saying is like those people in their eyes consider to have Jesus in their heart. But since you're Catholic, I guess that doesn't really matter because it's not Catholic. So that in your opinion, that wouldn't really be accepting Jesus. That's what I was asking.
It would not be. One, like I
Okay.
said, like I've talked about this, there's a lot of Catholics that don't have Jesus. You know?
That is true. So that's what I'm saying. It's just the human nature part of greed.
Yeah.
So that regardless if you have Jesus or not, like you said, if even Catholics can't have Jesus, that's more of a mindset to me.
Yeah, but a lot of them do, man.
Yeah, but the ones that do aren't scamming. That's my point.
Well, right, but like that's what I'm saying. It's like just even if there are the ones that are greedy, that's not Jesus's message. You know what I'm saying?
I know that's my whole entire point. Jesus doesn't want any of this. What I'm
Right,
saying is like it
exactly.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Jesus is prevalent in the world. Like human nature, like you're still not gonna either accept him or not accept him. Like there's still gonna be a ton of people that don't accept that shit, or they just have bad morals in general. So that's why I don't know. It's not really a matter of religion to me. It's more of a matter of like, are you a good person regardless of religion or not?
Well, that's what religion deals with.
No, I know it deals with that, but what I'm saying is like it doesn't matter if somebody's religious or not religious, or if they accept Jesus or not accept Jesus. Like if you, like especially if you think that they're like to accept Jesus, you can't be like that. The people that do claim to accept him and are like that are still a lot.
Oh
And
no, that's
like,
what makes it worse.
that's what I'm saying. It's not a
Yeah,
religious thing. It's like
exactly.
it's a
No.
human thing. It's a people thing.
Yeah, you know, I'm totally with you on that. But I was just trying to say that like I'm just like if you just follow the teachings of Jesus, and you just follow just the like all like if you listen to the gospel and you just follow his message, like it just everything's better.
Yeah, if it makes you be a good person, it's definitely better than not having it. I think I I know, man. I just truly think this is not fixable. I think you're just trying to, as a person, individual, you listening to this, you have to make up your own path to survive this world. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes. And I don't think society is fixable. And I mean, that's a very biblical kind of theme, right? The world's just going to descend into hell until Revelations comes. Like,
Right.
isn't that our end, supposedly?
Yes. And well, I mean,
So
the world ends when Jesus comes.
So
Like,
regardless
for a
if you have, so that's why I'm curious. Like regardless if everybody had Jesus or not, like that's just how society is destined to come to anyway.
I mean, I don't know, because people are saying like, well, like the world's gonna end, but I'm like, well, people thought that when the Nazis were coming, so you never know.
Yeah, you never know if we're gonna bounce back,
I
and
mean,
it's hard to predict.
that's why you just gotta hope. You know, you gotta
I
just.
just I everybody's like, oh, we're gonna be in space and we're gonna be so evolved. Like, no, we're not. Like,
Shut the
we're
fuck
not.
up. You're like,
No, we're
you
not.
seriously think we're good enough to do that? No, fuck
No.
no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People think we're gonna be so enlightened. Technology is gonna be crazy. Like, I think we're at our peak. Like, it doesn't get better than this. I think we're on the
Yeah,
upslope now, or
people
we're on the
think
downslope now.
we're just gonna be Halo and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, this is probably about as good as it gets. Maybe a little bit better with the electric car technology. There might be less gas stations when we're older, but I think that's probably going to be
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, this whole
They're
like
not.
flying cars. That's just bullshit's never gonna happen.
There's no cure to cancer. Everybody's going to have fucking borderline personality disorder. Everybody's going to fucking die.
I'm willing to accept that there's a cure for cancer.
No, they're never going to fucking release that. There's no way.
I'm willing.
You
to
know how much
accept
money they make off of that? Do you know how expensive that cancer-saving drug? That'd be
No,
have to like
I
it'd be like a
understand
mortgage. It'd be a fucking mortgage to take a
So-
pill.
I understand that, but I am still like willing to accept that there is one.
There probably is one right fucking now. It's just never going to be publicly available.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying whether or not they're gonna reveal it. I'm willing to accept the fact that there is.
There is going to be. There is one.
Wait, no, I mean like that they're gonna that it is going to be found.
Oh,
Is what I'm saying.
hopefully. I'm not willing it into existence. I hope there is one, but it's just from. It's probably not going to be one. It's just how the way shit's going. It's
Yeah.
probably not coming. Just pray
But-
to God that's fixable. Because I think,
Yeah.
obviously, the science and the technology of treating cancer is a lot better if they catch it than it used to be. But I think that's probably about as best as we can do is trying to find better
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, because we've become very good at treating it, right?
If they catch it early enough and it doesn't spread.
Okay. I
Um,
still don't even, and you don't even need to explain it to me because we've already been talking for too long, anyways. But I still don't even really understand what cancer is, like where it comes from, and like how it builds. Like I don't know.
Basically, it's just a misfire of your cells and it just keeps producing a massive, like that's like the lumps that you see.
Okay.
It's just like dead cells just keep piling up in this mass. What I don't understand is how it kills you. I just know that's technically what it is. It's just a bunch of dead cells that keep reproducing and multiplying with the wrong genetic code or something, and it just, for some reason, just eventually shuts down the rest of your body if it spreads.
Is that a recent thing, or people always got cancer?
I think people have always gotten cancer. I think I was watching a Vsauce video where it's like it's amazing that more humans don't get a lot more cancer all the time.
Yeah,
Basically, in the way our
he's
genetic
pretty
code is
interesting.
written. Yeah, I don't know.
I am very
I feel like cancer is more prevalent now with everybody smoking and drinking and bad food choice and bad diet and bad exercise, but a lot of it's
Right,
genetic
right.
too. So I don't know. That's also because there's more people in the world too.
right, but like you said, a lot of it is dietary. You know,
Yeah, I mean, like I
like
said,
heart disease
genetics.
and all that stuff.
Well, the thing that's scary about cancer is like you can do everything right and still get it. Like it's not a
That's true.
guarantee. Like you can do all the good diets, cut out all the bad shit, and just try to live your life as healthy as possible, and you can still get it. Because cancer can happen anywhere you have a body part, you can get cancer.
Yeah, but I mean that's why I'm really
Um,
thankful and happy, dude. Just because like I don't have any diseases, I have all 5 of my
Yeah.
senses. You know, so I can enjoy music and I can enjoy like visual art.
Yeah,
and
I have
just-
so
can-
much anxiety about
Yeah.
that shit. I'm thankful every day, honestly.
Yeah, man.
that's
I mean,
that's
having
part of
all
why I
5
had to
of
go
your
to.
senses is great.
Yeah, that's part of why I had to go into fucking therapy because, like, dude, this medical shit just freaks me out. So, like, I would watch, like, a news article of some dude that has some genetic rare disease I probably would never get, and it fucks me. I'm like, holy fuck, what if I have something like that? You know what I mean? It makes me go spiral.
Yeah, dude. There's some diseases that are just so like, oh, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna want to do that.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, no, sorry, bro. I'll pass.
Cancer, that's a no for me. Disease, not today.
Yeah.
That's not a good
way,
look.
No way, Jose. That's not
No way, Jose. My body, my choice. God's plan is going to be put on halt today, boy.
Yeah.
What do you-
Cancer-free zone, baby.
It's a cancer-free zone. It's legal here.
What were
I'm
you
gonna
gonna
sue
ask me?
you. I'm gonna sue you. Nah, I don't want to go into another long debate about it, but it's just something that I've heard through my whole entire life that
But
people always ask, and I've always thought about the answer, but it's just one of those things like you don't know.
well, just what's the question?
Like usually like every time like I used to watch a bunch of religious debates between people that are and aren't. I don't know why. I liked watching debates with anything. And the one thing that people always retorted with, is just basically like the theme of God turning a blind eye to atrocities and stuff. So it's like, how can all this suffering be, in the world, right? And then just to have the answer, oh, it's all part of the plan. So that's
No, that's not the answer. The answer is that he has all that so that we know what is good. Because if we don't have that, then we don't know what is good. And the other thing is because if there is no God, how is that stuff bad? Because if there's a bad, there has to be a good. You can't just have bad and like what? Like there has to.
I
be
think
good
suffering is. I think suffering is universal. Like it doesn't take a fucking, I don't think it takes an ideology to recognize suffering.
Well, no, it's
blatantly.
It's not an ideology, but like that. Like there's good things and there's bad things. Like there's things that make us go, huh, that's so awesome. And there's things that make us go, oh, that fucking sucks dick. You know what I'm saying?
This is really ragingly not fun.
Yeah, but I mean that's why those things exist, so that we know that there's a distinction between them, because we don't live in a two-dimensional world. Like we live in a three-dimensional world, so we can see the layers and the nuances of all these things, because there's actually this book. I don't remember what the name of it was. My sister was explaining to me how she read it. Was a book she read in high school. It was where they lived in a two-dimensional society.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And yeah, and like you distinguished between each other based on like the colors or something, I think. It's really weird.
That kind of sounds like the theme to The Giver. You ever read The Giver?
Oh, dude, that's like one of my favorite books. I love The Giver.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's because like the whole argument of like the elite in the Giver is like, well, what if people make the bad choices and stuff like that? Because then because The Giver is like, wouldn't it be so great to bring back love again and have all these great emotions and stuff? But they're like, well, I mean, that would bring a lot of bad stuff at the same time. And it's like, yeah, well, you still have the good stuff, man. And you still see how that good stuff is good, Yeah,
I mean, to your point, like with that same sort of concept that was in The Giver, like they didn't know pain till they felt it, but they didn't know what they were missing because of that sort of pain. I just think that's always in moderation. Like that doesn't like... That was more of a censorship thing to me. Like I never, I don't know. I don't like. I think like you can have pain without suffering. Like I think suffering is a completely different concept than pain to me.
I think the worst kind of pain is like boredom. Boredom is the worst feeling ever.
Which is a form of suffering.
Yeah. No, just like when nothing physically painful is happening to you, and you're just so bored, and you're just so like just. Just from scrolling on your phone for like an hour, it just pisses you off, and you're just like, oh.
But the thing is, like, we know pleasure and pain. Like we have that general concept, and everybody has a belief of what's good and what's bad, right? So like, but we still do that to ourselves. But what my point is, like, I think you can experience, like, you can know what's right and wrong, and you can have pain, but you don't need to do that with suffering. Like I feel like that's unnecessary. I feel like you can still be balanced without that.
Right. Well, and that's part of my argument of like what that does, like, just because there's a bunch of suffering and evil out there, that doesn't disprove the existence of God.
No, it doesn't disprove it. What I'm saying is like people, I think more. It's been a while since I've watched it, and I think more of their point was like, why would you worship something that just allows it to happen? I guess, but if it's the point of like, well, there's supposed to be evil in the world, so it's good, I think is a little like. I think they think it's a little bit more of a like, well, like it doesn't have to be that extreme. Like you can know what's good and bad from that. You don't have to have innocent people like suffer for it. You know what I mean? I think that was their point.
Well, I mean, that's just, tragedies just are gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, no, it's regardless.
Yeah,
but that was the point. Was like,
I'm not saying that to you specifically, because you're just saying what they were saying in the video. But Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've heard the like I've for people that talk about this topic and get into debates about it, they always bring up that sort of philosophical question of suffering and why does God allow it versus like you're saying like it's supposed to be there. Like that's
Well,
kind of like where people kind of stop and get stuck on.
that's one way, but then like the other way, like the traditional Christian view is just that there's like suffering is supposed to be like it happens so that we can learn from it and we can grow and change ourselves. You know?
I agree. I just don't think it needs to be that extreme. I think you can learn hard lessons and have a little bit of suffering, a little bit of pain to like know all the good moments, right? I just think like there's people that don't ever have like they just their whole life is just misery until they die. They learn nothing and they gain nothing but hatred and
No,
pain.
yeah, but a lot of that misery is just coming from living, in the Anglosphere and just living in these countries that are so well off because you don't know what it like really means to go through all of these things, that they go through in Africa or and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like some people are never going to get that perspective. Like they're just
Yeah,
going to die
exactly.
miserable and die suffering.
Yeah, because countries that are worse off have like they're typically the happiness rates are much higher.
Yeah, because they have to force themselves to find the small joys and things, and that makes
Yeah,
them internally more happy. That's my whole point. You need to learn how to fucking navigate through yourself because that's the only way you're gonna get through all this nonsense.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, they could go on this topic forever. I just think it's funny that we're not going to talk about it and we circled back to it.
I'd rather not talk about it. And of course, I'm like, well, what's the question?
Well,
The question we
I
would
think it's
ask.
interesting. We didn't bring up the same shit we brought last time. I think it's new perspectives. It's just
Well, we
coming like I
did,
don't
yeah,
know.
because we're not just reiterating the same thing.
Exactly. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I repeat myself, especially when I listen
I do
back on these
too.
podcasts. I find I repeat myself a lot, but I at least try to, put it in a new direction.
Well, yeah, no, but you do need to establish that there's certain things about you that is like that's your thing, Because
I know.
there's things I always try to mention, and I always try to mention when it comes to how I judge and critique art is that I love, I'm a fan of mood and atmosphere and like just the rawness of things and like just the emotions they can make you feel and stuff like that, and the
Right.
color and the spiciness.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to focus on, and it just makes interesting topics.
Right, and that's why we're not just talking about just fucking. That's how we can talk about so many different things, and it's still at the end of the day, like interesting, and it's not just so jumbled, and it's not just full of with so many different things that there's no focus on anything. Because no, it's a lot of these stuff. I'm sorry, a lot of these things just feed into one another. You know?
That's the whole point, man. The universe is connected. Everything is
Yeah, man.
everything, and nothing is
Through the
nothing.
Creator, man, the Supreme Creator, God created the heavens and the earth, man. I just sounded like a redneck, but
Create the heavens and the earth, and this dick with his girth. Get fucked.
well, in the Bible. No, yeah,
Oh
man. I
shit.
mean, that's like that's what I'm saying. That's another reason why I believe in all this stuff. Because I mean, it's like this stuff was created. I mean, it wasn't just like it just happened. Like something did it.
I honestly think like that's kind of the basis of our need to create things. Or we're always like, oh, we're our own gods, or we're the masters of our own universe. Like
Well, yeah, it's because we're made in the image and likeness of God, which in a way,
well that
we're like God in that sense.
I think also the fact too is that we feel super small, especially like being a microspect of a microspect in the universe, being on a microspect on a planet. So I
Yeah,
just think that just fucks with people's heads, and they just feel the need to, a lot of people always, when you ask them, what do you want to do? They want to leave behind a legacy or a name, or just they want to be remembered when they're gone. They just want to have some sort of cosmic impact, so they think.
yeah. You don't need to.
You don't need to, but it is nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it is
It's funny
nice.
because like you shouldn't care about it once you are gone, but I don't know. It's just the fact that you can leave behind something when you are is pretty cool.
Yeah, like Z's. You ever heard of him?
Who?
Z's.
Aziz,
Yeah.
the comedian, Aziz Ansari.
No, he was the bodybuilder.
Oh no, I don't know shit about bodybuilding.
Like all that red pill content of like like fuck women. I want to be with the boys. I want to
Dude,
do
that
shit that
is
I want. All that stuff.
That is
lot
the
of that comes
perfect.
from. Wait, what are you saying?
That is the perfect topic for the next one we do. We
Oh,
gotta talk about
okay.
that like guru fucking bro
Yeah.
focus
No,
on yourself shit.
a lot of that comes from Z's. Not the actual like guru part, but just the whole like, like you don't need a fucking woman, man. Just like the boys are like where it's at. You know what I'm saying?
Will has gone MGTOW. This is the first report.
Will has been red pilled. That's why Will
Dude,
has never had a girlfriend in his life.
you want to talk about scams like the fucking mail
Relationships?
version? Well, yeah.
No. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying you want to talk about scams, those fucking people that sit on a camera and tell really impressionable teenage dudes that this is how you're supposed to live your life and that you'll be a better off person for doing it. It's like astrology and essential oils, but like for guys.
Yeah, that's like what all that alpha male, beta male bullshit is. I
Oh,
saw it in
God.
a comment on like memeing one of those videos. It was like
Yeah,
just the top comment was this is literally astrology for men.
exactly. It really is.
So
It's just
true.
fucking stupid. And it
Yeah,
sucks because it's growing up a generation of people that are gonna be so closed off and just fucking assholish,
yeah, man.
and they
No,
think
and
they're being their
honestly,
own
I'm
boss. It's like
I'm
shut the
guilty of
fuck up.
that. Just
You'll grow out of it. It's like that fucking dude. Like
no,
you
but
just
at the
like I said,
same
you can't live
time,
your
like
life
these
like that.
no, but like these red people, like the red pill people, they have a point where like you're wasting so much goddamn time trying to chase all
That's
these hoes. I'm like, yes, amen. Thank you for saying that.
see that's my problem with everything. So they have a point, but their alternative is not better. That's my
Okay,
problem.
I see what
Anybody
you're
that
saying.
can, it's the same thing with like a lot of stuff with like feminism, and I always talk about the patriarchy. Is like they do have a point, but your alternative is not better.
Well, yeah, it's like communism. Yeah, communism, sure, it makes a point,
Well,
but
not
the
even that.
alternative's not where the
People
solution.
throw that fucking word around like that doesn't devolve into day-to-day life and the way we talk to each other. That's just governments and shit. Like that has nothing to do with us.
Well, it's
Everybody
part
just
of
likes
like
to use that word as a
well,
scare tactic.
no, but it is an ideology, just like feminism is. You said where like it's trying to address and what they believe to be an issue and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, I think everybody that points out injustices or just hypocrisy or the double standards of the society we live in, like they better have a better alternative.
Red pill, baby.
And most of them don't. Like their answers to these problems are not good, and it
Yeah,
creates
man.
more of that
The
problem.
answers.
Men,
That's what I'm telling you. I know I've mentioned this the whole podcast, but like the answers won't come to you unless you have Jesus, man.
but some people don't know what that means, and they
He is
don't
the
know how to
reason for the
apply that
season,
to their
man.
life.
I mean,
And like I
that's the
said,
whole point of
it's
faith. You just gotta trust in it, dude.
what I'm saying is like people no like most people are not going to know how to apply that correctly in their life, especially if like other people don't tell. That's my whole point is like the people sitting in front of those cameras that are listening to this red pill shit, like they're there thinking that this is going to be a better alternative, and they don't know how to truly accept whatever that problem is. Like men and women have never been more. I mean, obviously back in the day it was more segregated because they couldn't even fucking vote, handful of decades ago.
Yeah,
But
we should
just
probably
in
bring
term,
that back.
oh my god,
No,
you're
seriously. Like the
you're
whole
really hitting all the fucking cancel points. Well,
no, because when you see all of these
I swear.
when you see all these surveys, like the majority of women just vote
Oh
based on
shit, did I
feeling,
lose you?
and
Where'd
it's
you
like,
go?
wait, what happened? You can hear me? Can you hear me?
I lost you, I think.
But you can hear me now.
Holy shit, did my headphone die? What the fuck
Yo.
happened? Are you back?
Yeah. Hello.
You cut out for a second.
Oh, okay. You can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
No, but like I mean, when people complain about all these rules that were in the past, it's like it is important to understand why they were in place. I think it was like this British philosopher. He was saying how like there's laws that like are so old, how like we don't even know how they became, like how they came to be. But it's like it was better that we didn't question that.
It's better they didn't question the laws because they were out old. Is that what you're saying?
Wait, what were you saying? Yeah,
Are you saying
yeah,
that?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Like how we would have been better off if we didn't, if we would have just kept him that way. Obviously, no. I do not think that we should still have slavery. If anyone is no, that is awful. Slavery
I
is
love
terrible.
I love you're like women voting. We could have kept that one, but no slavery. That's where I draw the line.
I mean, yeah.
Oh
No,
my god,
I'm never gonna.
you are really red pilled. Holy shit, Will.
No, but dude, I'm never gonna like try to make it a law that women should not have the right to vote. It's like it doesn't matter. Like
My whole point was like men and women are always gonna have this like deep rooted disconnect, right? We're always gonna hate each other, but just forced to fucking do it because we can't keep our dicks in check, or we're just not wanting to be alone. But it's weird. Like I even bring it up to my girlfriend sometimes. I was like, do you feel a disconnect sometimes? Like it's just like men complaining about women, women complaining about men. That's just what we do. I actually don't remember. I need to ask her again. I wish I remembered because it'd be really interesting for this, but I kind of sorry for setting up and falling it flat, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Do you think though that like the red pill stuff is like the opposite of feminism?
Yes, they're polar opposites. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. They are the same thing, just flipped. I think they're inversions of each other.
Right. No, but at the same time, I do still think that there is some good red pill content out there that where like we can. No, I learned a lot of stuff from that because like a big point that this guy he makes really good videos actually. His name's Cole Hastings. He said that a lot of this red pill content, well, like in retrospect, yeah, he doesn't watch. He's like, yeah, I don't want to watch it anymore because it serves no purpose to my life anymore. But it did instigate a lot of these better decisions and stuff like that. But one of them was how it taught him the big lesson how relationships are not how they are in movies, where you just find the person who you're just like destined to be with, and that you have a fight, but then you come back together and it's all perfect again. It's like that's not how relationships are. Then again, I have never been in a relationship, so I wouldn't really know.
My advice to you, Will, is finding the right person. I would not take any of that advice into a relationship you get into. It's just going to not make it work. And I'm telling you from experience.
Wait, what advice? Like
Okay, so let me do a basic sum up. So I think this pertains to very left-wing content and also like very right-wing red pill content, whether it's feminism versus meninism, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The one thing that you can get some sort of good advice is a lot of them focus more on independence, and a lot of it is they try to be self-motivating, and it sometimes is good, but I think it comes from a wrong place of self-motivation. I think for both of them, it just ends up becoming an avoidance of responsibility. So I think you're so wrapped up into society is against me in this way, so I'm going to treat this person like that. I think that's my main problem with it. So you can take all of the good self-help advancements, like, they're very like keep your emotions in check, be a man, do responsible things, make your own money, start a business, cut down some trees. But when they're talking about like the double standards of society, I wouldn't bring that into a relationship. It's just going to cause tension. You're supposed to find people that, that you can work with. And if you go into a relationship with that mindset, it will fail.
Well, I mean, that's the thing.
100%.
I never really have thought about applying this in a relationship because I'm not looking for a relationship. I don't really give a shit. I'm not looking for that. Yeah.
I can guess that because you and me are very different in the way I guess we perceive things in terms of like what that means. So I'd imagine, without speaking for you, that you're going to want that traditional nuclear family, like you're the head of the house, you have the lot of, okay, so I'm going to be different in that way from you. So I feel like for your relationship, it's probably going to be a lot different than mine are. So I don't know if it's going to be really that big of a problem for you. But for a lot of people that don't have that specific structure, that they're just trying to find out who they are and they're trying to navigate this world, and they've never, even kissed a girl, yet they're watching videos about what to do and what to avoid, it's not going to work out.
I mean, back in the day, you didn't have that, and you just got married when you were 16, and that's that.
Yeah, but that was more like that was a different environment, though.
Well,
I know.
But at the same time,
that's totally different.
Also, like even like 30 years ago, I don't think there was all this bullshit about like dating advice.
Yeah, and I'm not up here on a pedestal. Like I've made my fair share of mistakes, and it's hard to like relationships are very hard, and I just think that watching that kind of content, whether it's feminist content or red pill content, it makes your relationships 10 times harder.
Oh
It's
no,
already hard enough.
yeah,
Don't make
right.
your It just causes more suffering. Just don't do it to yourself.
Yeah.
You'll find
No,
that
but
out.
you were explaining, right? You were explaining with the relationships and how they're hard. That's kind of the reason why I don't do it. It's just because it's so much stupid stress that I don't want. Because I have other things that I enjoy doing. You know, like this podcast or my guitar, my reading, my studies, like my linguistic studies. All of these great things that, like, I mean, it just takes away time from me.
So here's the thing though, like a relationship is supposed to be like it's difficult because you're supposed like it's like the pain and pleasure. Like you're supposed to go through hard things to realize how the all the good that it does. There's a
Sure.
lot of good things like besides sex. I feel like most people place sex a really big importance in relationships. That's like if that's the only thing that's good in your relationship, you shouldn't be together. Like if
Yeah.
that's the only thing two people
Well,
have in common. So I'm not talking about this like you need to date women because, you're feeling horny or sad all the time. There's a lot of really like there's so many benefits to having a good relationship. Like, you have somebody you can depend on, you have somebody to trust on, like you
oh
actually
yeah, you mean
feel
like
like
having
that
like an
version of
actual
love.
genuine like connection with someone.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
have wonderful conversations with my girlfriend. We love the same type of music. We get to experience going to concerts together. Like we do a lot of really good stuff, and it's like you want like as much like we're social creatures. Like we need people in our corner. Like when you're having a bad day, there's nothing like having your girlfriend stroke your hair. You know what I mean? Like it's just there's just a bunch of good that comes with it, and
Can
also like the
never relate to
conversations. Like
that, but I'm sure I'll take your word for it.
no, seriously, like it's like there's a lot like yeah, it's a lot of work, but so is everything else. Like every job you do is going to be lots of bullshit, but then it would make you more money. Like there's always pros and cons to everything. So like if you view
That's very true.
relationships like I don't want to do it because it's too much stress and too much hard work, like you're missing out on good things, I'm
No,
telling
but
you.
also like the I don't want to do it. It's not like there's just people lining up that want to be my girlfriend. Like it's
Yeah,
just
but it's not
I
going to be
don't
like
really
that
give a
forever.
shit. Like I'm just no, but I still have like friends that are girls. It's not like I don't know how to talk to girls. Or I mean, I just like having friends. You know.
No, my point is like there is going to be a day if even if you're not actively seeking it, there is going to become a time because you're not a bad looking dude. Like you're not going to
Why?
like
Thank
it's
you.
just like when you're going to college like not college but like when you're older like this becomes less of a problem because people just for the most part I'm speaking generally become less shallow and vain in that way and they actually just are in
Mhm.
the same kind of boat they've never met they've like you'll end up in the right place at the right time with somebody eventually. So what I'm saying is like if you have that mindset even if you're not actively seeking it now and you couldn't care and don't want to do the work, if you have that thought the rest of your life, it's just gonna cause you more like loneliness. It's like you just don't want to be that guy. It's just gonna make you bitter.
Oh well, yeah. No, I don't want to be that guy who's like 50 years old and like doesn't know how to talk to. I mean,
Well, it's not even that. Like
uh,
you don't want to go into a relationship with that mindset. You will fail. And since you've never been in one, if when you're with the right person, obviously you can get into a relationship for all the wrong reasons just because you've never been in one. So that's you. But again, you have to go through that. You have to go through a bad relationship. You
wait,
have to go
yeah,
through bad
okay. That's what I was
breakups.
gonna ask you. Yeah, because I
You
was gonna
have
say, I was like,
to.
is it? Yeah.
Because like to your point later or earlier about the God thing, why does all that bad shit exist? So you know what the good is. Like you have like
Yeah, man.
having a good relationship is so fucking awesome. Like it really is.
No,
Like
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah.
having somebody you love is incredible. So you have to go through bullshit to get to that point. You can't just have it. You got to work for it, man.
Yeah.
It's good for
No.
you. It's good for you to go through some shit.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's just, I mean, we've had our fair share of just like arguments and stuff like that, but
Yeah, but I'm
yeah,
not like I'm not coming from like I'm talking about like a real argument. Like you get into deep
well, right.
with
We're never
somebody.
we're never like punching and shit.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But like you like your first argument with the girl that you're dating is gonna be the toughest
Okay.
because it's like somebody that you love, but you're in like a bad place. And I mean, like I said, some of that red pill shit is true. Like there are people that are awful and they're gonna take advantage of you and they're vain and they just want your money. Like they're like those people exist. But that's what I'm saying. You have to go through that shit to recognize the red flags. You have to go through that
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you're just gonna fall into the wrong relationship with the wrong person and then they're gonna just completely shatter your heart and just completely destroy your trust, and then you're just going to be a bitter person and think everybody's out to get you.
Yeah, do you think a lot of that just comes from like premature relationships?
Yes. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
people are not ready. A lot of people are not ready to be in a relationship, and then they get into one and experience all this bullshit, then it just makes them a worse person. So I feel like it's something to take seriously, and everybody likes to just fuck around and throw themselves at the first person they see because it's about liberation. But I just think it does everybody a disservice because it just makes you a worse person if you don't take any sort of, severity, because like you playing with emotions, like it's a very strong chemical in our brain.
Right. And that's why I still believe in all of the church's teachings about relationships and the certain restrictions that come with it. It's just because like these things are very strong, and you can't just do that with anybody, and you can't just you can't just do it when you're not ready, if you know what I'm saying.
That's the one thing I kind of like. There's a lot of religious stuff that I disagree with, but I think the one thing, like, obviously not really so like the control aspect. Like, I don't think you should get in a relationship with somebody just because you want to start a family. I think that's the wrong reason. I think if you love somebody and that's the right person, it's wonderful to have a family, but I think forcing people to have that as a narrative is not a good thing, but that's here or there. What I'm saying is the one thing I do agree with religion is that the severity that they like the relationship means something.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's people that are polyamorous or have other views and whatnot, but for me it works, and I think that's the one thing that sometimes people kind of hurt themselves, so they don't understand, like, what does this actually mean to you? Are you passing time? Do you actually love this person? You know, I don't
Yeah,
think it's things to
exactly.
take
And
lightly.
that's why I always, like growing up, that's why I always wanted a girlfriend, is because I didn't have all of these pastimes, which now I do. And now I'm so happy, and I'm happier than I've ever been because of that.
And that's good. And I think you have to focus on that. I'm just saying, like, you have to go through the bullshit. You got to
Right.
experience what you can't have and what you can't. You have to find where your line is. You have to find what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not willing to compromise on. Because I think that's the one thing that red pill and the feminism teaches people is that any amount of annoyance is automatically the other person's fault and you don't have to deal with it. And I think that's a bad way to be. I think you have to have compromise. You have to, again, you have to find that line. So if there's too much compromise, then I don't think that's good either. You have to find that balance, and that's the most difficult thing. But I think that's my big problem with that is, it just teaches people that they can flee at the first sign of danger.
Yeah. Yeah, just like never confront anything.
Exactly.
And I'm
And I
guilty of
think,
that. Yeah.
and that's okay. You gotta fucking get through it, dude. You gotta
Yeah.
just find a better way to go.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling me I'm not a bad looking guy. That made my day.
Well, because that's the first thing you think of. Like, obviously, you take care of yourself. You go to the gym. So it's like
No, but I
you're
mean,
good.
but that's the
You're good to
thing though. I
go.
mean, it's like a lot of people, they don't, I swear, like, just like, we don't look to other people how we think we do. It's really weird, and I know that there is
Yeah,
like a psychological thing to it, and that's where like body
bro.
dysmorphia comes from.
Everybody on the planet is insecure, and I always I've like attraction is so fucking subjective. Like, just because somebody doesn't find you attractive or somebody finds you ugly, like, there is somebody that actually does find you attractive. I mean, if you're unconventionally like if you're not conventionally attractive, I think it's a lot more difficult, but you eventually find somebody that does like you for you. So everybody's insecure, everybody goes through that shit. It's
Right. I mean,
honestly
I always hated the fact that I had curly hair growing up. I always like I wanted to have like a bowl cut and be able to like flip my hair. I thought like all the other
yeah.
guys that did that. I thought that was like the coolest thing. I was like, why can't I have that? I was so mad, and I was like, I always thought I was so fat and like that I was like bad at sports and stuff like that.
Dude, the
Yeah.
shit you have to just accept is there's girls are gonna fucking hate that you have curly hair, and there's girls are gonna love that you have
Yeah,
curly
no, but
hair. It's just,
now
it
I don't
doesn't
give a
matter.
fuck, dude. Now I'm like, yeah, you know what? I got my juke, bro. Zero fucks given, man.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like, it's just that shit doesn't even matter. Like, you're fine. Like, you'll like if the right person comes along, it'll be good. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love myself. Yeah.
And that's all it takes, dude. Like, girls don't. I mean, for the most part, girls don't want somebody that's fucking like just down on themselves all the time or just totally
Right.
insecure.
Yeah, just like
So,
uh,
like, you don't have to be
some
overly confident or faking
yeah,
confidence with every single turn, but
some
it's like with
big
me. Like,
puss boys.
I was like, yeah, like, I don't like that shit either. Like, if someone I'm with just is
Oh my
insecure all
god,
the
I
time.
cannot stand, especially like male feminists, bro.
Yeah. But dude, they only do that because they want pussy. Like they don't actually believe
No,
that shit. They're just
exactly.
doing
And
it to
they
get
don't want
laid.
to work for it. They don't want to
Yeah.
like they don't want to offer anything. It's just because like those people they don't offer anything. When they're so pissed off about how all these douchebags get all this stuff, it's because at least those guys they have something to offer, you know, as opposed to
Yeah,
just
exactly.
nothing.
It's all fake, and they want to get as much amount of pussy for as least amount of work, and they just think agreeing with women is the only way to do that.
Bro, that's why Jesus would disapprove. Jesus is the opposite of a simp. Like
You don't think he had hoes? You don't think he was sitting around a tree and people were throwing their hair at him?
Oh yeah, I mean obviously people probably thought he was attractive, but like he never.
I bet he had.
No, but he never chased them. Like Jesus is so against that, you know.
You never know. He's like, yeah, probably shouldn't write that down. He probably had hoes.
Nah, man, Jesus did not
He had an
have
entourage. Dude, he had 12 dudes following him around writing shit.
Yeah, man. They were. That's the boys, man. The apostles.
The boys.
Those are the boys. You know.
The boys.
The apostles are the boys.
Yeah, no,
It's
yeah,
just
man.
like a picture of like the apostles, and it's like me and the boys are going to Walmart. Y'all need anything?
He had hoes. There's no way Jesus didn't have hoes.
He did not. Well, he did, but not in the way that you're saying.
Martin Luther King even had hoes, bro.
Oh yeah, there's. We could talk a lot about that. No,
but,
I remember.
Yeah.
Where he was assassinated, he was like in the hotel thing of like where he was gonna bang a hooker.
Yeah, it was like a motel too. It was fucking like not a good place to die.
Yeah. Not a good look, bro.
That's not a good look, Marty.
Marty, what are you doing? Bro, you're killing me.
Oh man, but people are complicated. Like I said, like everybody can have hoes. It's okay.
Except Jesus.
What's wrong with having hoes?
Well, I mean, Jesus, the whole point of why he can't do that, if you know what I'm saying, is because if he only gives all of himself to one person, he's not giving all of himself to everyone, you know, because the whole point is that he's here to save everyone, not just one person, you know?
So you're saying he had orgies then?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
I think that's what you're saying.
No, that is not what I'm saying.
No, I'm just fucking you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like I said, I think you just have to just take things seriously. Don't get into one just to get into one. I think that's my advice to you.
Yeah, and I totally believe you. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
If it happens, so what? Move on. There's millions of people. Like, there's 9 billion people on this planet.
It's so complicated when I'm thinking of like, oh, do I want to try to do like get with this girl, or do I want to try to ask out this girl? And it's like, I don't know. There's so many fucking people.
Honestly, and if you do online dating, that makes it 10 times worse because it feels like you have unlimited options. Like, you don't want to settle. Like, well, what if somebody better comes along and it's easier just to fucking toss this person aside? I haven't even seen him in person yet. Like, it becomes like trading cards. So
I have never
be very
the
careful
of online dating. I don't
Yeah.
get that.
Well, if you ever decide to dip your toe, just remember, like, if you find somebody, don't think that there's somebody else better waiting for you. Like, the grass is going to be always greener is what I'm saying.
You're saying that is true.
Yeah.
The grass is always greener. Do you think that applies to you?
Okay. So in objective whatever the fuck version of that word, Jesus Christ, I can't talk. Objectively, for the whole grand scheme of things, yes, it is technically true. The grass, there's always going to be somebody, but there's too many fucking people on this planet. There is always somebody that is going to be better than the person you're currently going to be dating. That is a fact. However, if you think like that, you will fucking self-destruct. You cannot have that, like,
wanting the better thing.
Exactly. You will drive yourself crazy.
Well, it's like gambling.
It is like,
you know, it's like you could settle now and get what you have, which is pretty great, or you could just you could lose everything if you try to go over a little bit more, you know.
And 90% of the time, people lose. So
yes.
My point is, like, it's just because, like, they're going to have the same thing about you. Like, you're going to, you know, have a nice conversation with somebody, then they're going to have the same, hey, this other person that I like more hit me up, bye-bye. So it just, it's a two-way street. it's a two-way street. It's not good to do. So just remember that you can be content with somebody that you like and not think that there's going to be something better out there for you. You will drive yourself insane.
But also, I do think that all these fucking simps that are obsessed with these women that they barely even know, and get the fuck over her. Seriously.
Yeah, but because they're in it for the wrong reason. They're just doing it because they're lonely.
Yes,
they're desperate.
If you're in it for the
it's
right reason.
it's desperation that causes simpness.
Oh yes.
Because people send hundreds of dollars to jack off to a girl they've never met. Like, that's crazy.
Oh my god, that is the most pathetic fucking thing ever. Yeah. I could go on for like a whole nother 3 hours about that.
Yeah, it's not a good way. It's not a good look, bro.
Yeah, not a good look, bro. That's the destruction of our society right there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even. It's honestly sad because part of me, like, I don't give a shit. People can make their money and fucking do whatever, but also another part of me is like, it is taking advantage of like desperate people.
Yeah, and that's also a lot of people that like are trying to sell you on some shit of how you can lose weight, and they're just trying to take advantage of these people that are just depressed and they just are just looking for a way to lose weight because like they're just, you know. But they're like they're taking advantage of these people, which is really awful.
With any time you're selling a product to somebody, majority of the time it's basically fueled off of some sort of desperation or you're exploiting some weakness in somebody to have them spend money to get it, for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I'm in an industry where I sell entertainment, right? So it's like I let people have the opportunity to blow their life savings on something that's probably more expensive than they can afford. And it kind of makes me like awkward sometimes because there's times where people like really want something expensive and it makes me very like uncomfortable when they bring out like, oh, I can't like really afford this, or oh, my wife's going to kill me. And I'm like, then don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll help you find something cheaper. Like, it's like, I don't like the thing that's hard for me to come across to people, or the thing that's hard to get across to people is like, I want you to like the thing that you have. I want music to accentuate your life. I'm not here to try to sell you something expensive because it's an expensive thing. Like, and everybody says that, but it's hard to, you know, because everybody's bullshitting. They want to sell you something, but like I really will not. Like, I will recommend cheaper shit. Like, I can do it. It's not a problem.
Right. That's why like, I mean, if I ever were to have like a supplement company or something like that, or like a protein powder company, like if I ever did that, I wouldn't do it just because like I'm trying to sell you. I would be like, no, I want you to buy this because like I want working out to be like, I want you to just have like a happier, healthier life, and I want you to you know, just like have working out as like a hobby and something that you love to do, and not just something that you're trying to do to impress other people and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, and honestly, if I could afford it, I'd fucking give it away. You know, like if I ever get to the point where I make ungodly amounts of money, like I would do a bunch of programs of giving like instruments to kids and shit. Like I would do a bunch of that, like nice stuff too.
Win the lottery.
Give everybody Charvels.
Dude, Charvels are so good; they can end suffering. Like Charvels can end suffering. They can end racism. They can end poverty. Dude, Charvels are the solution, man.
Yeah, I mean, to me, sometimes it's just awkward to have to go through that because it's like I really like there's times where I've told people like, then just don't get it, or just talk to your wife first. Like, don't make this ruin your fucking whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Like, figure your shit out. Like, pay your bills, dude. Like, handle your priorities before you buy something.
And it's like, sorry, bro, I gotta pay the Xbox Live membership.
I know, priorities are fucked.
I don't think I pay for that anymore.
I thought you have to fucking continue to play.
No, I pay for the Game Pass, which it just has like a very good selection of games actually that you could just download for free with the subscription. I paid for that one. I don't think I paid for the Xbox Live.
I've never paid for any gaming subscription. I've always just played with my friends. I've never owned an Xbox or PlayStation. I've always played PC.
Video games are just almost dead to me.
You just don't get enjoyment from them anymore?
No, unless I'm like with my brother and sister. I get like absolutely, like I would need to be on something to enjoy it, honestly.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it depends. Like every once in a while I might enjoy it, but then I'll just start thinking to myself like, you know, I'd rather be doing this, or I'd rather be doing that. And like, You know, it's just like it just gets sick of it. You know.
No, I feel you, and like, I think it's just the case of overstimulation. It just gets old.
Yeah, but then again, when you play a game that is very well designed, you feel it, and you feel entertained like every step of the way. But a lot of games that are commercially, like a lot of most like mainstream games, they're just so repetitive, and like you just get so sick of it so easily. Well, this is my experience from it. Some people love video games, and they find a lot of great joy from them, and that's awesome. I just don't really necessarily have that.
I think it just like, I don't know. I feel like if you have the right mindset about it, and if you get joy in other things and it doesn't make you numb, I think you're perfect for it. But I also think, like, again, you just have to have the right mindset. You can't, like, because like I've just come to a realization where I can enjoy something and, you know, really be into that one thing and then just lose interest, and it's okay. Like, I don't feel depressed that, you know, something that I used to love doesn't give me joy anymore, because there's other things that will.
Because
Yeah.
I only use my Xbox to watch movies, like with the discs and stuff like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just whatever you want to do. I think you have just to do a lot of stuff. Like, I think, like, if I didn't get enjoyment out of music like I do, I think I'd be in the loop of just playing video games because I don't play any video games at all anymore. When I moved out, I didn't get like a nice computer or a TV or anything. The most I do is just watch movies and shows. Like, I haven't played video games in forever, and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I play them all the time, and growing up, like, I played every day on the computer and shit.
I mean, also, like, there are some exceptions though. Like, if I was forced to play through the campaigns of Halo 1 and 2, I would enjoy myself. I love those.
Oh yeah.
I also
Yeah. Not saying you.
Yeah, or like Smash Bros. That game those are excellent.
I love Smash Bros.
Especially like it's a good party game. It's a good competitive game. They have so much content and like versatility to them. You know.
Yeah. And I think again, it's a communal thing. So I think if you're sitting, you know, in your fucking basement and you're just getting angry and you're just playing video games all day, it's not good. But like, if you play with your friends and you make it like a weekend thing, like it's just a fun social event that y'all do, or people that do it professionally or they win in tournaments, like there's an extra added step to it. You're not just being sucked into being antisocial and just sitting and just being distracted by all the colors and just that. I think that's damaging. But
yeah, do you think, because it's interesting though, because like I think video games are still seen worse as opposed than like movies and TV shows.
It's definitely more stimulating because you have
control.
You have more of an active role in it. I don't know. I think somebody can be just as addicted to movies and shows, or celebrities for that matter, than video games. It just depends on who the person is. My point is, like, no matter what entertainment medium it is, you have to just have that moderation. Like, you have to, you know, take a break and do other shit and be healthy and, you know, calm your mind down.
Oh,
because you don't want to be fucking numb.
Yeah, and like honestly, I wouldn't be that adverse to just adding like a 30-minute video game thing, just like as a part of my day, just to have something in terms of variety's sake, you know.
Yeah, and you'll get bored, and then you'll go back into it. It's just how it goes.
Yeah. So, do we want to end it here by picking some stuff, like pick 2 albums for the next episode?
Sure. Let's see.
So, what do you? Yeah.
I don't know. I have to really think about it, so I think we can just end on this topic, and then I'll bring up the next 2 for the next one. I have to really think about it.
Yeah, sure. That's good.
All right, man.
All right.
Goodbye.
This was long.
I know. I really. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. That's why I can't do it fucking longer and end it right now. Bye.
End it, goddamn it. We'll talk for another hour.
Bye.